All hail Neil Young, king of Canadian grunge. Kayla said it best. What is up, Matt Willis? Welcome to the green room. We've got some crazy shabusiness for you tonight. Boy, oh boy. Like in preparation, I don't know how much of the, or if any, because Christa, producer Christa, cut this video together. But I went and familiarized myself by watching the Taylor Shabusiness interrogation today, or at least the highlight reel of an hour and 20-something minutes. Boy, oi, 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 that is crazy! Oh, yeah, this... Related to Safety Dance, this is White Bat Audio Synthwave Mix algorithm, so it probably has a lot to do with, you know, the 80s and the Safety Dance sort of vibe. Very cool tune, right, Matt? I love this channel. It's a YouTube channel, White Bat Audio. I recommend it every time I play them. Freaking, royalty-free music. And since I'm poor, I need free things. And I have no royalties. So that's what I'm stuck with. Safety Dance is done by men without hats. Oh, yeah, they would be good highway hat customers. Here's the thing. Not for nothing, but every time I see a hat on the highway, I think I can make a $5 off of that, I bet. Just throw it in the hat autoclave. Yes, free things. Free things in life are free. That's the old saying, Matt, right? I also want to play this, because I don't play it enough.
I made some spaghetti, but I dropped some sauce on the floor.
You know who that is. Whoa! All those decoys from Perverted Justice. All right, guys, getting ready. So, here's the thing. Prepare yourself, Kayla, because you are about to be blown away by the hilarious 101 sticker that now adorns your name. I feel like I have an idea, since this isn't the show yet, we're free to talk about anything, but I've got an idea to create something, maybe with flashing lights or maybe with static, but still pretty lights, for the winners of the game. So, it's a work in progress. I've got to collect some things from some places, and we'll see, because there's a lot of shit behind me on the wall, so I also need to find some space. A few more moments, folks, waiting for everybody. You know how we like to do it, the green room. Oh, but I want to do this early and often because sometimes I forget. But I'm getting better at it. I'm going to make you guys look at this. There you go. This feels so... Here's the thing. I made my kid watch the Garfield Halloween special tonight, and, he complained a lot less than usual. So I think I'm really getting him into the idea of, or brainwashing him into the things I like the Garfield Halloween and Christmas special. Not so much the Thanksgiving, but also the original animated Ninja Turtle stuff. He's getting pretty amped. Yeah, candy. Am I right? What is up, Amy Ramirez? Welcome to the show, or the green room. You made it in time, is what I'm getting at. This is like the annoying part of the theater experience when you're watching the trailers and commercials and advertisements for popcorn. All right, getting ready here, folks. So, also, I would like to tell you that this is going to be a little bit of a surprise for me as it is you. Because, again, producer Christa, chopped together this video. So it's going to be a highlight, a vegetable medley, if you will, of crazy Shabusiness. So it'll probably give you a flavor of this case. But if it at all, interests you but also doesn't turn your stomach because it gets pretty gross and crazy, check out the interrogation, or at least the highlights, because it's one that I think that everybody can at least jump on, because it's not there's a quality in some of these criminals where there's an earnestness to their, and an honesty. I think his name is Jared Murray, that guy. Anybody who comes in and just flat out confesses is always insane, and this is one of those times. So I would definitely look that up if after this or before this you get a little interested in the Shabusiness side of things. Alrighty, kids. Final preparations are in order. Yeah, I think so. Alright, boys and girls, I will see you right after this.
This episode of FFOP Radio is brought to you by the Bathroom Cougar. Does this happen to you?
Someone's in here. Someone's in here.
With the Bathroom Cougar, scare off any would-be embarrassment before it has a chance to happen.
Oh, shit. I gotta get out of here.
The Bathroom Cougar, available at Best Buy and all fine retailers.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Dave. It's Flamingo Friday. This is FFOP Radio. It's our Friday night live, so buckle up for it. It's going to be a crazy one. We're going to be saying Shabusiness a lot, and hopefully not so much after this. But here we are, producer Christa in her role over there on the chair.
Hi. So I want to preface this. Nothing in this whole thing is so there's no pictures, nothing like that, gore wise.
No, I
made sure not to do that.
Yeah, I don't think we would ever do that. I just the
word dildo comes up once or twice.
Whatever about that. I don't care about that because, whatever. A dildo isn't going to horrify anybody into a coma. But, the stuff that she talks about so candidly during the interrogation, you might need, a stronger constitution than most. But if you're into that sort of thing, there it is. Really quick, there, check it out. Boom! There's the 101 sticker intact next to the churro. It is way lopsided now. Because that 101 sticker is pretty heavy, it turns out. Way heavier than that churro.
101.
Gonna watch out for Man Bear Pig. 101 classic. So
should we...
Okay, so if you're unfamiliar with Shabusiness, here are the broad strokes, right? Rough life. Fast forward, she meets Shad Therian. They do drugs together, and they do meth together. She decides to kill him by choking him to death during sex with a dog collar, and then literally busts her ass, breaking his body down with civilian grade cutlery,
steak knives and stuff. And
not this isn't one of those breakdown kill kits that Mark Twitchell bought where you can blast a deer carcass apart in 40 minutes. This is what's the cheap brands of knives that come in the block at Target?
Yeah, the
Faberware or whatever.
Farberware.
So something like that. This is, and here's the thing. if you're into true crime, you probably know, or even if you watch like SVU or any other of those crime shows, you probably know that like steak knives often come into play in like crimes of super anger or like crimes of convenience or whatever. But the fact that, I mean, here's the thing. What have you heard of a case where like steak knives were involved, where like they didn't have to use multiple steak knives because they keep falling apart in their victims? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Amy Ramirez, Shabusiness showed signs of an active psychotic disorder. She's the female version of Dahmer. Well,
seriously, because
we'll
like,
get into that too.
She, yeah, like all the stuff that she did, like post death with poor Shad's body. But here's the thing too. I don't want to. It's going to be difficult, right? Because in a lot of murder cases, it's pretty cut and dry. Because you can say there was a good guy and a bad guy, and it was just like. Yada, yada, yada. But like when they're both like making bad decisions and possibly suffering from mental illness and then throw a whole bunch of meth into the
Right.
scenario, I don't know. It's one of those ones where you get to sit back and not necessarily take sides, because it's like when you put Mentos into Diet Coke, it's going to explode and you can't get upset about it, I guess, because it happened.
Yeah. So, Shad's parents, like this is I don't remember if it's being brought up or not, but Shad's mother found her son's head in a bucket in the basement with a towel draped over it.
Yeah, at the bottom of the stairs.
Freaking
crazy.
Other body parts were found in
bags,
in a crock pot box, and some various other boxes in a van that
by the river.
Shabusiness's roommate owned, and I can't remember his name, but he was unable medically, supposedly, to testify. He didn't come in to testify. They got a statement from him.
Oh, maybe he got PTSD.
He was in the hospital.
Obviously, because like...
From what the trial was, he supposedly was sick and in the hospital. Don't know how accurate that was or not. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Matt says, Kayla, I was thinking about Young Einstein earlier. Great movie. Let's not talk about Young Einstein. You people should be past that at this point in your life. Jesus Christ. But... So, yeah, well, it'll probably all come out in the wash here, but Christa is a huge fan of this judge.
Judge Thomas Walsh. I had to look him up before the show. He was fabulous during this trial, and he doesn't come up a lot in this video because he doesn't need to.
But here's the thing. Like, I think all judges are pretty, all the ones that are going to get seen, right? All the ones, like... Because I'm sure there are like piss poor judges out there, right? But it just feels like when there's going to be a high profile case like Nasser or Shabusiness or whoever, and they know there's going to be media coverage, they get someone who's like super chill or like very professional or like, you know, has the patience of a saint, like Daryl Brooks's judge.
Oh yeah, he was just like savage toward Mr. Freilich, who is the defense attorney. Like,
so the first part, I'm just going to start here because we got to. It plays it a couple times like sports highlights, but this is Shabusiness attacking her poor attorney.
This is like pre-trial, prior to the actual trial. This was not her current attorney. It was the one right before, I think.
Yeah, I imagine this guy's like, I'm out of here.
This was like
But look at these moves. We need Decon to do a breakdown of this because like... What is she trying to do? Seriously, when you watch that, and she's like,
she wasn't trying anything. I think she was just trying to do that as an act to prove insanity.
Look how red this dude's face is. He's been fighting her for like under 8 minutes, and he's just like, I'm about to die.
They had to get like 3 or 4 cops on her.
I know, but that's the thing. Like, here's the thing. This guy probably isn't hitting the gym a lot, but he probably sees the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru a lot. So,
then somebody came over and kicked her flip-flops.
And her foot gets all tangled in his radio cord here.
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing. If you're going to wear a uniform and carry a gun and shit, I think you should be able to do like 40 push-ups. I don't care. Like, if you're in a court or you're out on the street, like, this dude should be able to overpower Taylor Shabusiness.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, look at him. He's like in early on the fight too.
Yeah. Yeah, so that
freaking ridiculous.
This was just kind of like the pre thing that I thought would be kind of funny to put in here because I mean,
who attacks their own attorney?
Right,
except for an idiot.
So this is Gannon, Adam Gannon, something like that. He is a fucking burnout, and his testimony is fucking amazing. He this was the state called him, and I think they were just doing it just to have somebody, not a doctor and not a police officer, as part of their witnesses, because he proved nothing for them. He did nothing for them.
Right, but that's the thing. Who do you go to when you're a methed out weirdo and like you just, Dahmered somebody essentially? Like, who do you ask to become, part of this circus? It would be a burnout like this. So let's see what he's all about. Am I right, Rod?
My name is Alexander Gannon.
Alexander Ganondorf. I'll get you Link.
So I introduced you as AJ. Is that a preferred nickname you go by?
Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's totally
But
cool.
your proper name is Alexander.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's get that out of the way.
If I call you AJ?
That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. Now,
would you call me?
so A, first letter of the alphabet right now. If I were to ask you what number is assigned to J, could you do it, Alex? AJ? Do you think you could?
So AJ, how old are you?
25.
Do you live in the Green Bay area?
He looks 45.
Did you?
Do I look 45?
Grow up here as well?
Yes.
No.
Did you go to
Break the ice.
high school and middle school here?
Yes.
AJ, do you know somebody by the name of Shad Therian?
Yes.
Do you like to go to bars, AJ? Where's the best pizza place, in your opinion, AJ?
And how do you know Shad?
I've known him since middle school.
And what middle school did you go to school with him at?
Oh, I know where you'd find the shirt this guy's wearing. Dillard's. Right? Go get you probably got that 2 for $25. You got a red one and a blue one. And he's like, I'm going to have to go to court again eventually, so I'll save the blue one for later. Wink.
Yeah, internet clout. Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally. That's like Sarah Boo.
Sarah
She
booted
should've-
it up.
I think I saw him before a couple times in like intermediate, but we mainly ran up at Bayview.
Bayview Middle School?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So when you were in middle school, AJ, like when it was like that French bread pizza day, would you get super excited, AJ?
I used to.
Yeah, fucking excited? Sorry, this isn't about middle school or pizza. It's a murder. AJ, sorry. That was crazy of me to digress for so long about where you went to middle school, you're 25, and what I should call you up here on the stand. This guy's a moron.
throughout, schooling.
This is the
and I
state.
guess
He's
now
good.
You're an adult. Do you keep in touch with Shad?
Well, after about maybe
The judge is doing some light filing back here.
That's not the judge.
That's the court clerk.
the first year.
That's the judge. Look, he was wearing a green robe, but he was a woman. That's definitely the judge. He's like, well, I got a fax. Got to get this.
I get these
look.
emails out, print them out.
It's free real estate.
Moving to my apartment was when I started really connecting with a lot of people.
It's got a classic mimeograph back there. Oh, my smartwatch. My grandkids are calling.
With, and Chad was one of them.
So there's a reacquainting period, I guess?
Yes.
All right. AJ, do you also know somebody named Taylor Coronado or Shabusiness?
Yes.
And how do you know her?
Since middle school.
Similar to Shad?
Yes.
Did you remain kind of friendly
You guys
with
do like
with Taylor as
Foursquare
well?
and Recess? What's up with that?
Sorry.
Where you get those cherry bombs?
Tetherball was a thing back then or what?
So, AJ, I want to ask you about
The swing set. Did you have like a really sick set, or like was it one where like if you went too high, it would rock back and forth? Those cheapskate schools.
February 21st of 2022. It was a Monday. Do you recall the date I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what.
He's not good at dates. Spoiler alert.
Yes. What is up with him?
When
Sit still.
this happened, but I don't know.
Sure. So, do you recall a day where you were, I guess, hanging out with
Oh.
Shad and Taylor?
Okay, I didn't. You were saying like.
You mean the
I
day,
mentioned
that
and-
day.
Are we talking about the murder, sir?
Can you be a
So
little
I
more
wanna ask you
clear?
then, let's get this straight.
Now, here's the thing.
Why am I here?
The context is we're talking about Shad and Taylor and how long you've known them and what you used to have for lunch and what you used to do at recess. The murder, dude. Like, of course this dude's confused. He's a burnout, and you spent 3/4 of the time he's been up here talking about fucking...
And I have a feeling like he didn't show up for like the pre-trial, like, hey, this is what I'm going to ask you. Like, how they... how do they call it? Not coach, but like...
Yeah, like they walk through, but like...
he didn't show up for that.
Like, do you have to, though? I wonder if they're like, we should, or it's, what, or else what? Like, you're going to go to your room. You've been a bad witness. Go to your room.
At some point, did you become aware that Shad had passed away?
It was only
after he was murdered.
When the day before I was heading out to vacation to see my parents, my dad specifically.
Okay.
Cool.
And was that
How's your dad?
February of 22?
No, it was like a week after. I think it was. So it was in.
I mean, a Chuck E. Cheese for dress rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
No, I went.
The judge sprung for the mega birthday blast, so everybody got at least 3 slices of pepperoni pizza, a scoop of ice cream, a slice of cake, and a personalized photo by Mr. Cheese himself.
Oh, and a bunch of tokens.
Fucking blew AJ's mind. That's where maybe that's where he wore the blue shirt. Now it's covered in pizza grease and cake. So he's like, thank God I got 2. The red one is going to court.
I had vacation in June.
Oi.
But I don't remember.
Where am
This is
I?
a great witness for the state.
I have a lot of mental problems.
Sure.
So
Cool.
I have a lot of mental problems.
It's radical.
When I watched this on the Law and Crime channel, by the way, thank God for the Law and Crime
Are
channel.
you referring to...
Yeah,
Because they stream everything live and it's amazing. And the chat was going fucking crazy during this guy's testimony. Because, like,
wild.
Why have him? I mean, I guess the only thing is to have him because he's a person that knows both of them.
Right, but whatever. Like, there's...
Wait till her dad comes on the stand.
He's a maniac.
When you learned that Shad had passed?
All I knew was it was like a week. It was a week after, like something like that. I don't know for sure.
What?
All I knew was basically the day after, a couple days after, I was going to.
What was the question?
Because that's where.
When did he find out Shad died?
A week, a day, a couple days
the
after.
Same day that I went there.
Whoa.
The police were knocking on my door.
So that day you probably knew.
Trying to get me to reach for me with the situation. And the only thing that I knew at the time was basically they asked if I knew the whereabouts of Shad and Taylor.
Basically.
So, that's like the closest thing I can remember. It's just
Sure, and
so.
That's literally the thing that you remember, not the closest thing. That's what you remember. You're telling the story of your memory. This guy is a sad burnout, and he's only 25.
Yep.
Like, he doesn't look like he's on meth. He's got a decent complexion, a decent amount of hair. Like, what's his deal? I don't...
I know we're talking about something a long time ago, and dates may be a little fuzzy. Is that fair?
Yeah, so sure.
That's totally fair.
Totally.
So that time you were talking about where law enforcement was asking you some questions, do you remember telling them about a time you were hanging out with Shad and Taylor?
Yes.
That was cool. We went to the beach.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes.
I can't wait.
Drinking a little bit belligerently. So the only time that I looked at like the clock was like before I left my apartment.
I was drinking a little bit belligerently. So the only time I looked at the clock was when I left my apartment. I heard the question before that, and it still doesn't make sense to me. I was drinking a little bit belligerently. I'm about to get belligerently drunk
So
right
it was
now.
like
This thing doesn't start making
After
sense.
10, around that time frame. And like basically it was like I just decided to stop dissociating a lot, and I felt bad for
Stop dissociating?
For not talking to a whole lot of friends that I used to talk to, like Taylor and Chad.
I want to know what she's filing back there.
I know.
That's the important part.
Really important.
Going to hang out, and then basically I went over to the apartments.
But like, okay, so if I'm understanding this guy's story correctly, he reconnected with them, and it was very close thereafter the event happened.
Like that night,
but like
or the next day.
But okay, so put yourself in this. He's probably horrified beyond belief, maybe a burnout, but whatever. But just to put yourself in that situation where you reconnect someone from like the 8th grade, the 9th grade, and you go, whoa, how fun is that? And then literally the two people you're reconnecting with, one kills the other.
Yep.
In like a 48 hours period. Like, what? It's not like, yeah, we've known each other since then, and I knew this was brewing, and it was just like, it was always meant to be, or like, I had my doubts, or this or that. It was just like, yeah, we hadn't seen each other in like 15 years. I reconnect, and there's a murder the next day. So here I am. Dillard's, 2 for $25. Blue one's covered in pizza stains. Sorry, jury.
And when specifically when I got there, we were just chilling
Like film.
Chopping it up.
like how we always do.
I love chopping it up.
Basically, I was like, Taylor was thinking.
Seriously, though, like, how could you not react like Taylor?
Yeah, I know.
You said this is the state's witness?
This is the state's witness. This is the state's only. No, sorry, her dad also, but like the only friend.
You're right. He had to squeeze in the testimony between Mensa meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's, he made an ultralight in his garage out of toothpicks and a 9-volt and an old RC car motor. He flies around the neighborhood.
This is the only reason he is there is just because he knows both of them.
But here's the thing. When the case that the state has is so strong, why be like, you know what, it would be as if you're like, you've been handed an antique table. It's craftsman skill is in this. It's perfect all around. And you go, here's the thing. I'm going to make it better. And you start to hammer a nail into a random place. And on the third swing, it bends at a 90-degree angle. And you go, it's totally fine.
No,
I believe in it.
I think he's also probably there because maybe he asks, or maybe the defense asks, if she was acting strangely prior to her fucking murdering Shad.
Meth. Like, what do you...
I don't know if
she was picking her face a little bit more than usual.
Look at that lady in the background.
Yeah,
she's like, oh my
she's
God.
Not having
she's
it.
there every day.
She's related to the photographer from the other
You
one.
want to hang out with Shad? She was asking me.
I mean,
for
come
consent
on.
Shad to bring him over, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. It's cool. And so
This was like day one, I think, of her trial. Maybe day two.
Question. So when you said you were at the apartment, which apartment is this?
the Eastman, the Medley East apartments.
Okay. Is that
The Kevin
kinda where
Eastman
you thought Taylor
apartments?
was staying, or whose apartment was it?
It was it was the same apartments that I lived there. So it was like I'm sorry, what?
Sure. So the apartment is in Eastman.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry. What? What was the question?
What?
Dude, where's my car?
That you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I interrupted. You were with Taylor, and then she brought up hanging out with Shad?
Yeah.
Did you meet up with Shad that night?
Yes, I did.
Totally.
And where were you sort of hanging out with Shad then?
We
The
picked him
shower?
up, went back to the apartments, and was
Eastman Apartments, they were too layered.
chopping it up.
Is that the same apartment
Chopping
you were
it
just
up.
talking about?
Chopping it up at the Eastman Apartments.
And,
April O'Neil lives there.
Date myself. Chopping it up, what does that mean?
Oh, it's just like kicking it, talking about whatever just small talk.
Hanging out.
I don't know when or where chopping it up was a popular phrase.
Wisconsin.
I lived through the 80s until present, and I never heard chopping it up. So maybe it's a regional thing. Until Family Guy, not Family Guy, American Dad, where they chop it up at the barber shop.
Yeah.
I was like, what the and now here we are, chopping it up in the Shabusiness case. How good do you think this dude is at chopping it up? Hey, man. Call your friend AJ. We're going down to the hookah bar, and he's really good at chopping it up. AJ, man, chop it. You see him chopping it up here, and left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Chill atmosphere.
Yeah,
Chillaxing.
No major issues or anything that stick out to you.
I think it's from the middle north.
It's probably. It's a very middle north
Shad was
thing.
acting normal.
Yes, he was.
Taylor was acting normal.
Yes.
So, to reiterate, you guys were cooling out, maxing, relaxing, and
Kicking it.
fooling, or shooting some b-ball outside of the school? Is that what you guys were doing?
And you said this was about 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night?
Seriously.
This was when I went to the apartment. Like around
Great.
that
This
time.
is great. I completely understand the narrative so far. I understand who he is, what he's talking about, and why he's here. Those are three things that I know for sure.
And this is still the apartment on Eastman?
Yes.
Okay.
There's
And
only one
then,
apartment in
at
question,
some point,
right?
Do you,
Cool.
leave that, apartment?
I left. I did leave.
Like the day after, or like a week ahead of vacation.
Probably like at least maybe like a couple hours. Maybe until like 1, 2 in the morning. I don't know for sure. It's like I said, I only looked at the time before I left the apartment, and I was a little drunk. So.
Okay. But at some point you left.
And then
the
I drove.
apartment.
Objection. He said he was belligerently drunk earlier. Somebody's changing the narrative.
Were Shad and Taylor still at the apartment when you left?
From what I saw, I don't know, but that's yes. From what I saw.
What?
And then
From what I saw it, I don't know,
Yes.
but yes. I don't know from what I saw, but
He's the
yes.
best witness ever.
I'm AJ.
After that point,
Dude, she is so weird. Yeah.
Had you ever
The
seen Shad
facial
again?
expressions she makes
What?
throughout her
After
trial.
that point, after you left that apartment, had you ever seen Shad?
You know what she looks like? She looks like one of the Siamese cats from Lady and the Tramp if they were a human.
again?
No, ironically, I hit him up.
I'm glad
the day
too,
after,
Allison.
a couple
Effing.
days, like the first week into the situation, and I call him. I message him about a song that he posted on his Facebook.
So I texted him and he sent me a tweet.
Like it was like some rap song that I liked, and I was like, yeah. I just like.
You bumping Kanye's new album? You know, it was like, all right, like Yeezy's a little off his game.
Randomly sent him a message that day. I was like, yeah, it's dope. And then I was like feeling a little when I don't have people talking to me a whole lot, I get a little anxious. And now I'm like,
The state.
That's the thing. He is a state witness apparently. Like
Yeah, this is
this is the
state.
guy who's the proverbial bent nail in the antique table. Like the bow was on the goddamn package. We all know, if you watch this channel, we all know the gold standard is the what's the confession
Yeah,
in
and
an
she fucking
interrogation.
did
Left,
everything.
front, right, back, up, down, and center. Like she talked about things that you'll need to go look at yourself to believe.
Yeah.
And then they go, whoa, like we got the confession. There's so much evidence. Like you couldn't have a more watertight case. And then it just feels like here comes this attorney with this nail that's like made of pop metal. And he goes, bang, bang, kong, gunk.
He's like, well, we could have one weirdo on the stand, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you have a Ferrari, it's okay if like a wombat shits on it because it's something. But why are we doing that?
like,
Come on, AJ. There we go.
hey, what's up? Like, I'm a little concerned immediately. Okay. But like, I didn't hear
Right.
him until
I hope we don't all have this friend
Have
anymore.
and or had. Yeah.
Everybody had this friend or were forced to deal with a person like this at work or school. But
Right.
yeah, definitely.
My friend mentioned to me specifically about what happened.
And I'm sorry, I'm jumping around in here. I want to go back to when it was you and Taylor.
Don't
You
get
went to go
confused,
pick up
AJ.
Shad.
Jesus
Is that right?
Christ, don't get confused.
How did you pick up Shad?
Me?
How did you and Taylor go and pick him up?
Okay. Well,
Me? You and Taylor? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we took that van.
Me? Pick up Shad?
we took
I'm AJ.
minivan.
Who drove?
Taylor.
Do you know whose minivan that was?
No.
Okay. Was it a minivan that was at that apartment that you were at?
Yes.
God,
And you
I
went
can't
to
remember the
Shad's house
guy's
to pick him
name that
Yes.
Taylor lived with. lived with.
Thank
That
you,
owned
AJ.
that van.
I have nothing.
I just watched the interrogation. His name came up a lot, but I can't remember.
Yeah,
Benny? Ben? Marco? Maurice Wolin?
I keep thinking Mark Twitchell, but that's not him.
Hashtag Wolingate. Stay woke, people.
This is Mr. Freilich, the defense attorney.
Mr. Freilich. Ricardo. There we go.
Knew Taylor and Shad since middle school.
Chaz. Okay, now let's go back. I'd like to just, if you would indulge me for a moment, let's circle back to that French bread pizza.
Basically.
Anyway, Totino's Pizza Rolls. A fan, AJ?
Herschel.
You seem like a Herschel.
You went to school.
Herschel
at Bayview Middle
Ganondowski.
School? Yes.
Yes.
And then did you go to high school together as well?
A little bit until the freshman year.
A little
Did you
I
go
went to 3 different high schools in my freshman year.
Okay.
So it's a bounce and all that.
That's okay. Did you go to high
No,
school?
keep interrupting me. We're covering well-trod ground that has absolutely nothing to do with the murder case. But please, AJ, if I may, when you would go out onto the field, would it be like a rolling hill type situation? Would there be irrigation, or was there like sprinklers? What would happen during like snow days, for example? What are we doing here?
School with Taylor Shabusiness?
A dude's head was in a
At,
bucket.
Airport?
Yes.
And you kind of knew her pretty well, correct?
Yes. Enough to associate with her.
You were friends with her?
Yeah, to associate and
Here's the thing. I associate with a lot of people out of convenience, situation, whatever. I don't mean shit. Like, here's the thing. A concept that presented itself to me was the idea of a triangle friend. And that is a friend that you meet from another person who then you connect stronger with, and then you cut the first person out.
Yeah.
My best friend in junior high, I met through another dude. I was hanging out with a dude named Jimmy. He was obnoxious, but, he was in most of my classes, and it was just a relationship of convenience. He introduced me to my friend Sean. We became best friends, and we cut him out like a dead leg. So, and this guy seems to have the exact opposite. Whereas, like, if I took Jimmy, met Sean, and then Sean killed Jimmy.
Yeah. Allison, I watched the whole thing live too. I'm pretty sure she might have been medicated to not be crazy.
But then
possibly, I don't know for sure.
Then if that were the thing, that were the case, because where did this take place?
Wisconsin.
Okay, so the same place as Daryl Brooks. Why wasn't his ass tranked to the gills?
Because he was defending himself.
Well,
she didn't even need to be in the courtroom.
Still,
she wouldn't testify, which probably is for the best.
Still, yeah, okay, it's Wisconsin. But the thing is, like, it doesn't. I don't think you can. Can you forcibly medicate someone? There's like no.
I'm not sure. I don't know. People in the chat were saying that they thought she was medicated, and I don't know.
I believe that if she was, she probably did it through her own volition, by hook or by crook.
Right.
She probably was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and get high for the entirety of the trial, because why not?
Yeah.
Like,
she was pretty calm. Yeah, she was.
Vernon Shirley.
calm throughout the whole trial.
Yeah,
even when she was her verdict, she was totally like fine.
Yeah, so she probably was like riding high on a government pain pill or whatever. But yeah, this is if like Laverne killed Squiggy, right? Good reference, maybe.
Be friends with, yes.
And was it your understanding that at least in high school, Shad, Therian, and
Shad was toilet hooch?
Kind of were boyfriend and girlfriend. They dated a little bit.
Verification needed.
Yes. I don't know how the connection between them, but it seemed like
I didn't know if they had like an intermingling of souls or if it was just like a quick body type connection or what, detective? Huh?
the time after the breakup with Corey, it seems like that's like the only person that she always chose sometimes. That's like whenever I see Shad, more times over.
It's annoying when people use antithetical speech when they say I always do that sometimes, or I sometimes do that always.
Yeah,
like that's so annoying. So drugging someone is like the only thing if
it's your kid or your elderly parent and you have implied consent or you're a healthcare proxy.
Right, that's the thing. You like I can see a kid getting medicated or like an old person with a power of attorney ripped away from them or whatever. But if this again, maybe it is just the toilet hooch. Maybe it is, some sort of pharmaceutical. It doesn't really matter, right? Because this is all just a puppet show.
Right.
This is. It's not even like where you have to. Like the term reasonable doubt in this case doesn't happen, right? Like there's no reasonable doubt that Taylor was anything but the butcher of Bakersfield.
Yeah, and she pled not guilty due to like insanity, mental disease or defect or whatever.
Right. And here's the thing. Correct, Allison. Very unnecessary trial,
yes.
Just like Daryl, just like a bunch of other ones, but we as a society have to hold ourselves accountable. So we say, well, it's the rules that even though there's overwhelming evidence and a 7-hour tape of somebody being like, yeah, I did this and then this happened and blah, blah, blah. We still have to burn a bunch of calories and call AJ to the stand here so he can be like, oh, what was the question? And so at the end of the day, we all go slam dunk, Shabusiness is in jail. And where's AJ today? God knows. Little opium den.
Especially when he's like chilling, I see Taylor
chopping it up.
A couple other friends in that circle.
They're always sometimes hanging out. Usually.
Sure. Did you sometimes go over to?
Yeah, she did way more than cuddle with his body.
Yeah,
like spoiler alert, she did things to his body that if he were alive, he probably would have totally enjoyed.
Yeah,
but. The sad part is that she choked the shit out of him, and she's like, yeah, he was coughing up blood, so I figured I might as well just finish his ass off.
She wanted you to see what would happen.
Yeah.
Shad Therian's mother's house?
Like the Jared Murray case, and also that one kid, like he's like blonde, he wears glasses, and he's like on the autism spectrum, but like he just decided to like get a knife and stab a homeless dude a whole bunch. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I wanted to see how it felt. So I did it, and then I crashed my car in a river, and I was like, oh, goodness. And then the police saw the blood, and here I am, because I'm a murderer. And he's like, now that I'm caught, I'd probably not do it, but it was fun at the time. Like,
yeah, that's her.
But, like, without the,
Tara Packett.
Without that, like, oh, golly gee, I'm just a murderer.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I totally did it. It was cool.
A couple times, at least a handful of times.
Lol.
Would you go over there to maybe eat or play video games and watch
like
TV?
GTA 5, AJ?
We wouldn't do a whole lot, but I just came. I was like,
I think it'd be hilarious if he pulled like a King Cobra style, like, and just like puked 16 ounces of like Monster green energy and like ramen noodles all over the front of his shirt. And he's like, ugh. Anyway, what was the question?
What was the question? How far did we get into this show before you mentioned lolcows? Because I have Fortnite.
I would just be chilling with the whole
Yeah,
pack,
you know he's playing
basically,
Fortnite.
of dogs that we're chilling with, you know what I'm saying?
He's saying the N word to
You just kinda
10-year-olds.
hang out with the group?
Yeah, just hanging out with the group.
Okay, all right.
So.
Okay. Would you sometimes go over to Shad's father's house, Michael Therian's house?
Yes.
Okay. And was it such that
What's up with that?
Shad Therian, he lived with his father, Michael Therian?
At the time that I heard of, yes.
Pretend you're a jury member. Do you feel any more swayed to one side or the other?
So you had been to
No.
Shad's father's house and Shad's mother's house, correct?
Have you ever been to Shad's uncle's
And
house?
fair to say that you'd been over to the apartment on Eastman Avenue where Taylor Shabusiness was living, correct?
Did you ever check out that place on Ocean Avenue?
Yes.
And
He
so
did.
you'd go over to that residence to kind of chill or hang out.
Oh my
listen to
God.
Chop it
TV,
up, man.
whatever,
Get it
correct?
right, Mr. Freilich.
You had Taylor's phone number?
I had her Facebook.
Okay. And as
We
far as
chatted on
Shad Therian,
Facebook
you
Messenger.
had his phone number or Facebook information?
Yeah, I had his Facebook at the time too.
Fair to say that all three of you, yourself, Mr. Gannon, Taylor Shabusiness, and Shad Therian, you all had each other's contact information, correct?
Is that cool with you?
Yes, but after like a rough patch with like a friend, I was like chilling. I just started dissociating, and I just I do that a lot.
He
for the
became
past
dissociative with a
10,
disorder.
20 years. I just I feel like people don't. If there's a sort of discrepancy, I just cut you off. It's
I think her
fuck you,
angle
whatever. And
was
that's the reason
to
why
try and look crazy.
the day before.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, well, Allison asked, because, so at the end of this video, after she's guilty, the jury found her guilty, they had an insanity hearing with the psychiatrist that the defense called, and she is a nut job and talks about her facial expressions.
Here's the thing. It would be as if, you are someone locked away in a mental institution who thinks you're Abraham Lincoln, right? And the person you get to, plead your case is the person who thinks they're Napoleon Bonaparte. Mm-hmm. It is a circus and it's a farce.
Yeah.
It's...
For that situation.
It's a bureaucracy. This is the taxpayer's bureaucracy.
I hate Taylor because I just wanted to associate.
Now, Taylor Shabusiness has a father. Do you know her dad?
She does?
Okay. His name is Arthur
Shabusiness?
Arturo Coronado. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he's in jail. Is that correct?
Arturo Coronado's house.
Yes.
And was that with Taylor?
It was not the. This was maybe a year or so before I visited. There's been very few times since I personally talked to Art. So.
What?
But had you been over to Art's house with Taylor in the past?
And why does that matter?
So you kind of knew Taylor pretty well, fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair
and
to
you knew
say.
Shad very well, correct?
This guy Daryl must have heard this guy because he's like, is it fair to say? Would it be fair to say?
That's all he says. Is it fair to say? Everything is it fair to say? And it was so annoying.
AJ, is it fair to say that apartment on Eastman Avenue was Shabusiness's? It's the only apartment we've ever mentioned? That apartment? What apartment? Sorry, what was the question?
And he lives in the same apartment complex.
What?
He said it before. He's like, I also live there. Not in the same apartment,
was it such
but
that there were times when maybe you'd be hanging out with Taylor and Shad where they would
doing
be
some
using
meth.
marijuana together?
Prior acts aren't
Wait.
Objection. State objects. What? What's going on over there?
So here's the thing. So during this trial, multiple times the judge had to reiterate, we just got these new microphones. You have to talk to them in the microphone. It's not...
Here's the thing. I understand that fully because having a show like this and having in-studio guests, mic technique is a very important thing. It goes beyond just what you do here. If you ever have to make a speech, it's important that you learn to make it a part of you to always have your mouth pointed where they can hear you.
I don't know what kind of mics they used to have prior to these ones, because they're like, these are brand new. You need to talk directly into it and not, you can't move it around and stuff, because then they can't hear you.
They probably have like highly directional microphones because they don't want a bunch of like goofy shit or coughing like Daryl Brooks, like all of that happening. So yeah, like the highly directional mics are definitely something you would want and would necessitate like, hey, you can make it through law school. Remember to keep your lips between 1 and 3 inches away from this thing.
Yeah. So that was a running thing in this trial.
Low sensitivity. Turn up the gain. Hello?
Nope.
Phantom power that bitch.
Your Honor, I'll withdraw.
Thank you. Question's withdrawn. Okay, ask another question, Mr. Freilich.
Have you ever seen them do methamphetamine? Objection, Your Honor. Objection.
Did you see...
His objection was carried by the wind of the sea from the last unicorn.
Taylor Shabusiness on February 23rd of 2022?
I do appreciate the multiple colored highlighters that he has, because that's how I roll.
This dude's a nutsack. Why do you have to stand them up? He's just being annoying.
And he should stand them the other way, because that's going to dry the ink out.
And P.S., yeah, he should have gone to Goodwill to get that $7 microphone, because this thing is a gem. $7.50 P.S. Not for nothing.
This lawyer do ASMR on the side? He might.
So objection. Yeah, just like 8 hours of like slowly crashing waves upon a soft sandy beach, and every 8th wave or so you hear objection.
Highlighter props. Yeah.
Look, he's got staplers and Post-its.
He's got all
he's
paper
got a whole
things.
Fucking office right there. Like he rated the staples.
The state has like 4 laptops, and he's got paper.
You saw
he's
her on
old
February
school.
21st of 2022, correct? That was a Monday.
But that's the thing. Like I would do that sort of shit. Like if I were going to.
He needs a trapper keeper.
Well, no, like the thing is, like, people are still impressed by mass. So if you throw down a laptop and you have a very thin briefcase, you go tick, 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 and they go, isn't it true? Like, I go, whatever. But, like, there's still something that appeals to, like, the same part of you that likes brick and mortar shopping, where if you see, like, a bunch of files and, like, since this dude looks like he lives here and has, like, a Staples account that delivers directly to this desk, you go, Jesus, this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah, that just sketches on the bottom.
I think it's etched like ETCH.
MC Escher sketch. My Escher sketch.
I think it's an sketch.
It's like Chick-fil-A.
I don't know what day that
Do you have that in Australia?
Okay. That's just a little
it's like Dingo ate me, baby.
Okay, that's fine. But you did all hang out together, and you drove over to Michael Therian's house. Is that your testimony?
Oh, my God.
Michael Therian?
Yes.
I think
Therian is my mental medication. That's lithium. Sorry.
I don't know.
Okay.
Just get him
You're
off
not
the
good with
stand
this,
already.
It feels like at any moment, some dude with like a red beard and a fat gut wearing like a red trucker hat with like a restaurant logo on it is going to be like, I got a meatball sub here for AJ Ganondorf. And he's going to go, yo, whoa, finally. It's been rough up here, dude. Get those meatballs to my face.
Hopefully his is almost over. I don't remember how long.
I'm better
this
with
is.
dates, just not like.
I'm better with dates, less good with figs.
For like the past 5-10
Minutes.
Okay.
years, so.
That's fine. So, prior to you being told that Shad Therian was deceased, the days before you were told that, you were hanging out with Shad and Taylor, correct?
Yes.
What?
And did you notice anything odd about Taylor as far as her mannerisms, her eyes, her speech, anything like that?
There was a lot of meth smoke moving into her lungs, and I think it was because she was activating her diaphragm while that pipe was at her lips. Detective? I don't know why I keep wanting to call him detective, because I watch a lot of interrogation.
No.
101.
Did you have any feelings that she was acting weird when you had contact with her?
This dude's hair looks like a toupee that isn't on right.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be 3 inches down and 15 degrees counterclockwise. Then he'll look professional. But this guy looks like he just walked in out of a windstorm.
Yeah.
Have there been
Anyway,
occasions
Your
where
Honor.
you've seen her and you felt that she was acting very odd or
Object,
unusual?
Judge. Relevance.
Objection, Judge.
Mr. Freilich?
Well, I think it goes to his
Mr.
observations
Freilich?
of my client, Your Honor.
I'll allow it.
Then you need to narrow down with it for a time frame for him.
He always wore fabulous ties also.
Sustain the objection.
You'll find that with a lot of male judges because they
What
have
else
to
do they
wear
have?
the robe.
Yeah.
The only place you could throw a splash of anything is on your neck.
And he always wore these bracelets, not like our bead bracelets, but like I don't know what the rope is, the kind of rope that's like braided.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and he wore those, and you can see him sometimes out of his robe.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, if you are a lady judge, like Daryl Brooks's judge, you can throw on some makeup and have a nice head of hair and look like Jennifer Coolidge, and everybody will, be like, oh, what a powerful judge. But in the back of your mind, you're like, I'd love to rail that judge. But, like, when you're a dude, like this dude who, has a 750 haircut and, not much going on and not much of, a bombastic personality, you throw a splash of color around your neck like a Van Gogh inspired bow tie. I can see that in place of a personality. Starving back here. Meatball soup.
Okay, sure. Mr. Gannon?
Fresh out, Mr. Freilich.
Before you had...
You just imagine, the court takes 45 seconds as he unwraps the noisy paper bag and then the white butcher paper, and he's like, all right, you may continue, Mr. Freilich. And he's like, really noshing on that meatball so with all that melted mozzarella and maybe there's some fresh basil worked into there. Like, holy shit. Boy, oh boy, what a delicious submarine sandwich. God damn.
Contact with the police where you talked to the officer. Had you saw Taylor Shabusiness at that period of time, is that fair?
Yes.
I guess.
When you saw her, was it just one time or was it several times?
It was only one time.
Okay, that one time when you
What are we doing here?
You observe her to be acting in any
Mr.
kind of bizarre
Freilich
manner.
just likes to, he doesn't have anything to ask. He just roundabout asks the same thing 7 times.
Nobody cares, but here's the thing. I want to focus on these pictures in the background. These are something that okay, so here in Arizona in Globe, there's an old, the first courthouse of Cobra County was, placed in the seat of the county, which was Globe, Arizona in 1888 or 1889. And so it is now an artist loft, and I saw my first ever experience with a Little Shop of Horrors was in the theater upstairs. And this is exactly like that. It's these are pictures that you would hang in a municipal building turned
museum,
learning annex or whatever. But you're in a courtroom. What's going on here?
Maybe they do tours of what courtrooms look like, and they have all that history on
Good
there.
question, Joe. Where is this going? Who knows? Those pictures are haunted. Oh yeah, maybe.
From Ghostbusters get put in the court.
Oh yeah, oh god, what are they? The Spinetti brothers or whatever? I'm sorry, I don't know Ghostbusters very well. But second follow-up question: what's up with these 3 tiny empty frames, and whose job is it to fill those? For God's sake!
I wonder if there's writing on them. We just can't see it.
But then why would there be 3 of them? Why are they at different levels?
No. Okay.
Back after this.
Okay, so this is the defense's witness. Arturo Coronado is Shabusiness's dad.
It's hard to believe that something as beautiful as this came out of this potato right there.
As you can see, he is probably in a maximum security prison. He's got shackles from his hands down to his feet.
Yeah, you might be right, Joe.
Rumor has it, don't know how accurate it is, but rumor has it he did some things to her when she was a little girl. Don't know how true it is.
Come on. Here's the thing.
But he loves her and she loves him.
Whatever, but it's bullshit. Frank and Rose West love their kids like those weirdos who took their, the guy who had the dry look hair. I can't remember, but they had 12 children. They were all starving. A bad childhood doesn't necessarily guarantee a criminal life. However, the other way is where the correlation is, because you can say a lot of, if not most, or the lion's share of criminals grew up being physically, emotionally, however you want to, whatever genre of abuse you can subject a person to, they've had it. Very few people are like, I'm a normal person, I felt like killing. That does happen, but it's mostly going to be broken homes and people who grew up where violence was the answer.
Yeah. Joe, I think if the defense attorney didn't have any hair and he just had his goatee, I don't think he would look as
Your Honor,
strange.
You never want to end up 15% more Jewish. You want to go at least 20. 15 is too little. Here's the thing. I would go at least 50. Personally, like I've got some Jewish people in my family and sort of jealous. Like, what a lineage. The Golem, the Torah, like, it's nice stuff. That's why I say at least 20%. Plus
Look at the defense attorney, how he's looking over at the state when he has Arturo coming in. He's like, yeah, look who I fucking got.
They can't really see their
Oh,
face.
damn it.
This is Arturo Coronado.
Okay, really quick. This guy is Toby Maguire's dad.
Yeah. Yes.
Sir, if you can go over there. My son is Spider-Man.
Go state your name, even though you already know the drill because you're in jail.
Do you remember Bonesaw? Because he's ready.
Stay standing and turn and face her, and as best you can, raise your right hand.
As best you can, because you're shackled.
See the Golem come to Israel. I love it.
Please have a seat and state your name for the record.
I'm none of your fucking business.
Coronado.
So look at now. Let's just take a real quick minute to really appreciate the court clerk's change of outfit. So we went from that pastel green affair to this like lovely goldenrod sort of thing and a nice white shirt underneath. Much more flattering, I feel. The green, although nice,
bright.
It needs to be a. There's a time and a place for that, like a vaporwave style situation or something, like say it's 90s day at the office. But this is more appropriate for something. I mean, look. You don't want to look at the technology you're sitting next to. This fax/cop machine is the pinnacle of technology. Let's not desecrate it with a lime or like what is that? It's like a soft mint green.
That was bright. I don't know.
We're not sure what he's locked up for, but it ain't good.
I couldn't find any good information. There were too many Arturo Coronados that I could find.
He's probably in for life and probably for stuff that goes beyond just violence.
Yeah, I'm going to guess murder and some kind of sexual assault.
Allegedly. I mean, he's in jail, so probably not allegedly.
This is yours. Thank you. Mr. Coronado, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
What's up?
How old are you?
51.
Cool.
What is your date of birth?
5/24/72.
Why the fuck does that matter?
Hey, you ever, like, when you're in prison, you ever do that, like, Frito pie recipe I hear about, where you take the Fritos and you get a bunch of other shit and you throw it in there and, like, maybe put it out in the sun for a little while and eat it with a fork before you get botulism?
Yeah, so, yes, it's crazy her brother died in a motorcycle accident. Her mom killed herself when she was a little girl, and he'll talk about that a little bit, too. And, like, so she had a rough...
Right, but here's the thing. And everybody who loves to espouse violence is like totally cool with that. Like they'll say, well, I was abused or I was hit or I was yelled at as a kid. And I didn't. Obviously, you didn't become a murderer. Little asterisk, possibly yet. But should we, like, really as a society, or you as an individual, be like, I took a fair amount of abuse and didn't become a murderer, so abuse is fine.
Right.
Right? Like, it feels so antiquated because there's still people on my Facebook who go like, yeah, spank your kids, because why have a rational conversation with another human being when you could just whack them to make them shut up?
If you go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm reading what he's in jail for.
You were living in Green Bay, correct?
Yeah, you know that, Chris.
Okay. And
cool.
Found guilty of second-degree essay of a child and sentenced
Shocker.
to 12 years in prison and 18 years of supervision.
Like,
it wasn't out before. I couldn't find it before her trial, or during her trial.
Yo.
Should we really set the bar that low?
Mm-hmm.
Your daughter is Taylor Denise Shabusiness, is that fair?
She is.
Is that fair to say?
Who is your mother?
Marla.
Okay. And you were married to Marla for a while, sir?
Of course.
13 minutes.
How many years was it?
We were married about 10, together about 15, 16.
Did you live together in Wisconsin or some other state?
Illinois. Illinois and Wisconsin.
Okay. And where was your daughter Taylor Shabusiness born?
In Evanston, Illinois.
Okay. Does Taylor have a sister or brother?
She has a brother that passed away last year.
Okay. What was his name?
AJ, Arturo Drep.
Oh, yeah. No, I did not feel bad for this man at all, and I didn't even know what he was in jail for. Which sounds terrible, but...
Right. It's a highly personal thing, right? Because anybody... I don't know. Everybody's got a story, and everybody can make that story spin a certain way because there are, the master manipulators out there can, turn a lie into whatever. And like anybody, if you say, let's take a long, hard look at this person's life, you're going to find tragedy. You're going to find the things that led them to where they are. But like, where do we say, like, now it's your responsibility versus somebody else's? Like, we can draw a line legally where adulthood happens, but like, if you were behind the 8 ball from day one, what do you do?
Right. Yeah. And yes, her father does blame Shad for basically like corrupting Taylor with drugs, and he called him a fucking loser on the stand.
Right. But that's the thing. When like your baseline, like this is your family. Your dad's in jail for SA. You've been horribly abused your entire life. God knows what else is going on, and you're addicted to meth. And we all go like, well, why couldn't you just make the right decision, guys? Hello? Like,
I think he was talking about Shad because, yeah, I know she was married prior and had a baby, and that'll come up here too. But he's currently also in prison, yeah.
Yeah.
When you were living in Illinois with your daughter, Taylor Shabusiness, was she ever brought to a hospital at all?
No.
Okay. Did she ever receive any mental health treatment when you lived in Illinois?
No.
Okay.
Why would she?
Did something happen to Taylor's mother at some point?
No.
She passed away.
She never
Passed
changed.
away May 20th, 2009.
From what?
In her sleep.
Okay. Did that take a toll on your daughter, Taylor?
Well, of course.
Can you tell me a little bit, sir?
On my son as well and me.
Okay. It took
And so as you look at Taylor's face right here, what do you think she's thinking? Like, yeah, fuck my mom and brother. It's just you and me, Dad. And P.S., like what you and I did would end up on an SVU episode where like Stabler ends up puking in a waste paper basket.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. What is going on here? She died in her sleep, 27 hatchet wounds. Yeah, she was Lizzie Borden. It was a real mystery.
Correct.
Good night, Kayla.
Yeah.
Coroner said it was natural causes.
When her
Bye, Kayla.
mother passed away in May of 2009, how old was Taylor?
11, probably 11 and a half.
Okay.
My son and daughter were, about 9 and a half, 11 and a half years old.
Okay.
Cool.
Did Taylor go to school that day that her mother passed away?
I tried to get them to go to school, but they knew something was going on.
Okay.
They came back.
Yeah, Mom wasn't alive anymore, so I tried to make him go to school, and it didn't work.
I knew you were going to do that.
What's happening?
You messed up the video.
Oh, my bad, everybody. Hold on. Sorry.
Sweet Lord.
Let me fix this. We're going to watch the beach.
Let's watch the beach for a hot second. This guy seems so fucking irritated that he had to answer. Oh, it gets better. It gets better. When the defense attorney mentions Taylor having a baby and how the baby is with the grandparents in Texas, he's like, I don't know why the fuck this is being brought up.
Why is any of this happening? Like, we're watching this go down, and like none of it seems to be planned, or like it doesn't seem to have any real rhyme or reason, because we're watching like AJ give us nothing. We're watching now the dad basically give us, like, again, nothing. Like, the brother's dead and the mom's dead, so okay, so what? Like,
did Taylor go to school that day that her mother passed away?
I tried to get them to go to school, but they knew something was going on.
Okay.
They came back.
Can you describe a little bit how the
it was not a murder? Yeah, before she murdered Chad, she wasn't a murderer. That was like 25 years of her entire life without murder. So I think that should be put into consideration. She went a whole 25 years without murdering. It's like if I go an hour without talking about lol cows. Right? It's like
how the death of Taylor's mother
your run of time was a flat circle. That's right.
Impacted her. Can you give me a little bit of commentary on that?
They were pretty young. I mean, obviously, you know, their mom's not around anymore, and you know, Marla was ill, so just I guess they kind of knew what was going on, but it was unexpected. We watched the movie the night before and fell asleep, and I woke up and my wife was already cold, already passed.
You found her?
She was laying next to me.
Okay. And what about
like, regardless of situation, that must be a horrifying experience. Like, whether or not you're, you know, rolling the dice every day, like shooting up heroin, and every day could be your last, right? Rough, but yeah, Allison, you might be right. It might be bullshit. Kind of. Who do you believe in this situation, right?
Taylor, did she see her mom in that state?
They did not see. No, I did not allow that.
Okay, but were the kids in the house?
They were upstairs in their bedrooms.
Okay. After that occurred, did you see any changes in Taylor's?
So yeah, Thomas, you're right. That's the thing about this sort of catch-all term, right? Somebody somewhere has probably called this dude a master manipulator, because if you have a sob story and you can hold it together in a chill situation like this, where you're just chopping it up with a defense attorney and no one's getting in your face and asking you any hard questions, you can come off as a parasympathetic person, right? But given any amount of pressure, like if the prosecuting attorney were to like give him a little attitude or lip or whatever, I'm sure it would go off the rails in no time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Behavior, first of all.
She was a little rambunctious. Nothing. I mean, she played volleyball. She had a good amount of friends she hung out with. She was a normal kid.
Did things change at all for her?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just me and Taylor. It's your business here. What's going on?
A little bit at school, but I don't know, something with a band instrument.
She stuck a flute in her.
Oh,
she American Pied it.
Band instrument, and then returned it, but nothing major.
Okay. When did you come to Green Bay? What year? Do you know?
2000. I started working here in 2007.
2007. Where did you work at?
I worked for Verizon.
Okay.
Before it was GTE, then turned into Verizon.
Classic GTA.
18 years.
Right. And when you came to Green Bay, did Taylor go to school here then?
P.S. What are you in prison for, by the way? I know I shouldn't be asking this because I'm a defense attorney, but like, what up with that jumpsuit there, my man?
Of course. Where did she go to school?
Packers.
She went to the Howard Somical School District.
Do you think Taylor owns one of those cheese hats?
Yes, sir.
Did you get information
she likes
that
the Bears.
She's having issues at school?
Well, yeah.
What can you tell me?
Nothing.
From what I can recall, just
I'm done here.
normal just kind of acting out, I guess. Just
here's the thing.
Bears.
People who have shitty kids, they say, well, acting out is normal. I never acted out. I was a normal kid. I went to school.
Yeah.
I didn't fucking spray paint shit. I didn't, I was never in any fights. It's so crazy to me how, even as a junior high and high school student where everything would just sort of get rationalized away by parents or whatever, they go, he's a good kid. Or even when it was another person I knew, like a friend would be describing somebody else in our high school to me and they go, they are a good guy, and the but always sort of cuts the dick off of the good guy part. He's a really good guy, but he punches children in the face and takes their money when they're unconscious.
Thomas, America's Worst Attorney. Hey, it looks like you're in a jumpsuit today. Is that a personal statement or murder, you say? Oof, should have read those papers on you. Mamma mia.
Yeah. So you just like the color orange? Oh, no, you essay. Essay is the reason. Yeah. Oh, cool. I'll put that in my notes. I'm writing as I'm in a case.
Yeah.
These are going to be important later. I'm Shabusiness's attorney.
Mr. Fralick happened in high school, but it's kind of why I yanked her out of there and sent her to Texas so she could graduate and kind of get away from the issues that were going on here.
There's nothing wrong in Texas. There's nothing ever the matter in Texas. That's where everybody goes when you're a problem child.
Yeah.
2017, I believe. I'm not sure.
Okay. How old was she in 2017? Do you know?
She was 16 and a half, probably 17.
16, 17. How long did she live
When
with
was
her
she
grandparents
born?
then in
Do the
Texas?
math.
About a year, a little over a year until she graduated. Maybe 2 years. About a year, maybe a year and a half.
Was that Cotulla, Texas?
That's correct.
Was there a point where she got pregnant?
Here we go.
Well, about a year and a half ago, maybe.
Cool.
And she had a baby, correct?
Yes, she did.
The baby is currently living in Texas with the grandparents, correct?
Yeah, how is that relevant to anything here? Why do we need...
Thomas, I'm going to give this convict credit. You asked my dad how old I was in 2017. He'd answer something like 20 years into being a pain in my ass, probably.
Oh, whoops.
What are you doing?
I hit the wrong button.
Possibly.
Okay. Did you see her at the Nicolay Psychiatric Center?
Oh,
she was there?
yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, the psych ward.
It's through Brown County.
Yeah, I went to take her there myself, actually.
Okay. Why did you take her there?
She just wasn't in the right state of mind.
You ever heard of the Baker Act, detective? She's crazy.
Was she suicidal?
Probably.
Was she psychotic?
I guess
Objection, I don't think this witness has the ability to answer that question. Rephrase the question.
Okay. Was she experiencing hallucinations?
She was not in the right state of mind at all. So I feared that she would hurt herself. So that's why I took her. We both agreed. We both went there together and tried to get help, and then ended up releasing her, and she came home, and that was about it.
Okay. Was she prescribed some medications and things like that?
She was at that evening, no, but yeah, she has been on some medications that she'd never liked taking those pills. I mean,
here's the thing about scumbags. If the open-ended question like that, was she ever prescribed any pills? You go, that night, no. Ever means ever. He didn't say that night, was she prescribed any pills? And he's like, no, not that night. It was later. He said ever, go back to prison. Not that night. It's later.
Kind of messed her up even worse.
Did they cause her to hallucinate or cause her to have
I think it all started with a Seroquel that was taken, back, I don't understand too much about those prescription drugs, but they never agreed with her at all.
You're in good company. Nobody in this courtroom seems to understand anything once they get in that witness box.
Do you know the other medications that she was asked to take?
ADHD, Adderall, I believe.
Anything about Haldol?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I know she was prescribed some stuff, but I don't know the names.
Okay. Did you talk to some of the...
she ever get her hands on any Propecia?
The Nicolay Psychiatric Facility?
Judge, I'm going to object. I think this witness can offer his observations and the facts that he's aware of from what he observed of Ms. Shabusiness with respect to what he learned.
This judge looks completely aghast by if you were just watching this video without the audio, what would you think that he is hearing right now? This is the kind of face you would see a judge point in the direction of Daryl Brooks or Sarah Boone. Just like the...
Well, his facial expressions throughout this whole trial was this kind of stuff. And he's like you. He has a hard time controlling what his face does.
I work on it every day, but I don't think it matters because it's not helping. He said that
you play.
Oh my God.
Learned from doctors about her mental health conditions. We have professionals who are going to answer questions based on the records. Those people are better equipped to answer those questions. The information he received from doctors is hearsay.
It's not hearsay. I didn't ask what they said. I just asked if you talked to the doctors, Your Honor.
Sure. So the question that's pending isn't asking for hearsay. I think the objection was made because it sounds like that's where we're headed. So he can answer the question that was just asked, and then I'll just indicate, Mr. Freilich, that objection is probably coming if you go to the next step. But the question that's pending can be answered. So I think the question was, did you talk to anybody at Nicolay?
I did.
Okay. Ask another question, Mr. Freilich.
Moving on.
Did Taylor live with you in Green Bay for a while?
For a little bit, yeah.
Was that in 2021 or what year was it?
I believe so, yeah. But again, speaking to them and, her being an adult, they really, even being a father, weren't allowed to disclose anything.
Right. Sure. When she lived with you, sir, what address did she live with you at?
1130 Moraine Way.
Guilty. I've heard enough. 1130 Moraine Way.
Case closed.
Lock her up. Give her a hilariously obtuse sentence like Daniel Holtzclaw or Larry Nassar, and let's get on with our goddamned lives. What are we doing here?
And how long did she live with you?
Just a few months.
Did you ever come to a point where you didn't want her to stay there anymore because her behaviors were getting worse or her mental status was getting worse?
No. I love my daughter, so I'll do whatever it takes to help her out.
She was just too old now.
From prison. I'm going to do what I can from prison, which isn't much. And when I was out of prison, it wasn't so much help as it was SA. Super assistance.
Review
any of her records at all?
Objection. I don't think he can testify to the content of, again, I think it's the same objection. He can answer whether he reviewed them. He can't answer anything about the content of the record.
Your Honor, the state, what they're trying to do is they're trying to anticipate an objection. They know this one is not an objectionable one, in my opinion.
The video's not matching the audio.
And any good parent, when you go to the doctor, you're going to talk with the physician or the psychologist or whoever it is.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's not like if their mouths move in complete synchronicity with the words, it won't make it any more understandable. I think it's at least funnier this way because it looks like a terrible Japanese dub. That's our only saving grace right now.
It is about the status of your child.
Damn it, now it's ruined.
It's not like I didn't try. I tried talking to her.
Wait. So I'm going to rule the objection at this point, and the question can be asked. Mr. Freilich, why don't you ask it again so the witness has it in his mind?
Okay, Your Honor. kind of forgot, so hopefully
Did you review some of the records of your daughter?
I kind of forgot.
Did you review any of the records?
Your Honor, I forgot my own question. Can we get AJ back up here? I feel like he can really do his best to clarify the murkiness that has been thrown into these clear waters.
Your Honor, what the state is trying to do is sabotage my case by pointing out I invited an SA felon to defend his massacre machine daughter.
Here's the thing. I don't want to... It's going to sound harsh, but this is... compared to the interrogation footage, what you've clipped together here is like, this is the incompetence hour at a mental institution. Like, this is the Christmas Carol put on by people who have no tie to reality whatsoever.
Just keep playing the video.
It's crazy.
At the facility?
Yes.
Again, she was an adult at the time, and I can't, yeah,
The
she
answer
was
no,
yeah.
I think the answer is no.
when
Let's
she
move
was
on.
living at your house, sir, on Moraine Way. Was she ever experiencing any hallucinations or anything like that?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Just know that she wasn't in the right frame of mind, kind of see things. She'd like to walk around, and, we take a walk, cemetery, just right down the street.
What? We just take a walk down to the cemetery. Classic father-daughter shit, right? Like, you just take a walk down the cemetery, you chill out, you go look at the gravestones, you hang out by all the vultures and the bats, and you just take it easy. Let me reload this and make sure, get the, maybe we can get these vocals to line up with the voice again.
I don't know. We shouldn't have uploaded it. That's the problem.
It wasn't working the other way.
Experiencing
what's Thomas saying? Oh, yes, it's
Dream Warrior. What do you mean cemetery?
Yeah, this guy was definitely like, let's go fight Freddy Krueger in the pet cemetery, Taylor. You and me together. Fucking crazy.
experiencing any hallucinations or anything like that?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Just know that she wasn't in the right frame of mind, kind of see things. She'd like to walk around, and, we take a walk, cemetery. Just right down the street. But she just needed, just to kind of get out and walk around and, I guess, ease her mind.
Did you have concerns about her from a
Go out, grab a bite to eat, mortuary, right up the street.
Physical or mental standpoint?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
All right. Thank you. Nothing further. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What?
Just
like,
briefly.
Hello. Like, for everything the prosecution has, I think has been totally undone by this defense witness, right? Like, I completely believe that the confession... Oh, yeah, there's the confession. What's the point of this dude,
Mr.
right?
Coronado, were you aware of whether or not your daughter was employed during the time that she was residing with you on Moraine Way?
She was not at the time, at that, no.
What's up with that?
Do you know anything about her employment history as an adult?
Sure.
And had she held jobs in the past?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know where she worked?
She worked for Saputo. She worked a couple of years, Saputo, 3.5 years probably.
And is that relatively recently? Prior to her arrest, of course.
Well, yeah.
Just go to the mortuary.
I think we can all use a little snack.
Monster Mash. Yeah, we're going to get some Doritos and head on down to the mortuary.
Yeah, right. Prior to that.
Yeah, and
she was doing really well there, too, until her boyfriend /
She was nailing it until the meth addiction kicked in.
That turned everything upside down.
in part because of the methamphetamine use, right?
Yep.
Allison, I'm pretty sure he's
So Taylor was
referring to
doing pretty well.
Shad, not her baby daddy guy. Because the way that he just said it, it was her job up until recently, which was then when she met Shad again and started doing meth.
This is the insane thing about court cases is like, God bless paleo botanists because they fill a critical role in our misguided understanding of the natural world as it existed in the distant past. However, I personally find paleobotany so mind-numbingly boring, I don't care about it. Because the money is in the dinosaurs. It's in the megalotheriums. It's in the giant super mammals of the Eocene and all that other stuff. But a court case is the paleobotany of the true crime Paleozoic genre. Interrogation footage is like the dinosaurs, right? Body cam footage is like your Paraceratherium, your Megalotheria, your all the big Eocene giant super fauna mammals that are impressive but not dinosaurs. And then you have courtroom footage where it's experts or burnouts, it doesn't matter, they're both boring, where it's someone explaining to you how important the concept of fresh flowering plants were 65 million years ago because they were brand new. But everybody who's not a botanist goes, who gives a shit? That's where we are.
Allison, he said boyfriend/husband. I'm pretty sure multiple times in the trial they referred to Shad as both. So I don't know if they signed, went to the courthouse and got married or something. But I'm pretty sure that they're referring to Shad in this situation because I know.
More importantly, Thomas, yeah, it was a sick point. Thank you.
I don't know if how close she was to the guy that was the baby's dad here because she was with I don't know. Who knows?
Well, and then she started using the drugs.
Because she got into the meth with Shad, not with the boyfriend, husband, the other guy.
And Shad looks like a fucking Fish fan. He looks like he would travel around in a VW bus getting blazed on weed, no problem, but he does not look like a guy who would hit a meth pipe.
Meth, heroin, whatever else. I don't know.
Marijuana?
Yeah, I don't know. The kid
He's so
was already
bored.
doing that shit before, and just a fucking loser, and he got my daughter involved in that shit.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Nothing else.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Okay, thank you. You can step down.
I think the next one is just starting the closing arguments of
fucking loser.
I think.
Smell you later, Dad. Thanks for all the abuse.
She says, love you too. And then she says, go Bears.
See you in prison.
This is Mr. Saunders. He is the state.
Go Bears. It's Wisconsin.
Guy. We already went over this.
Packers.
I want to start with
I
something that we did yesterday, or actually Monday, during opening statements. Counsel told us that there's always two sides to every story, and with all due respect, this
guy looks as annoying as James Corden.
This is not one of those stories. This is a
No, sir. There are two sides to every story. It's just that both sides of this story end up in Shad being eviscerated. Defense and prosecution.
Yeah.
Both of those stories end in Shad being eviscerated. I would say Taylor's is a little more colorful, but still two sides.
a story that pretty clearly shows what happened. It's a story of a defendant taking a dog collar that was around her friend's neck and
why was it there?
Pulling it so hard and for so long and with such force that it caused his death. That in that moment she made a deliberate choice to end her friend's life. She then, after the fact, degrades his body, sexual acts with him. This is a story of the defendant then
Here's the thing, Allison. I love Dr. Phil because he's a brilliant man. Number one, he's super smart. He's a real doctor, and he's not a hack. So yeah, you're right. Dr. Phil fucking, nails it every time. He's like, every time when he's like, mental health is like a rattlesnake in a pickle barrel. It's like sometimes you gotta fucking put a pancake in there. But cul-de-sac, I'm living in the back of.
Him and leaving his remains all over the house for his mother to find. And this isn't the state's story. This isn't law enforcement's story.
This is Shabusiness' story.
It's the defendant's story, as you heard.
There's no business like show business.
So, as we go through this, it's easy to sit here and say...
Real quick, I want you to look at this. Do you think that the judge went on to Etsy and was like, you know what? Money is no object. I'm going to spend $250 on someone to really fucking throw some, like, not only just Thomas, but J and then his last name, which is Woe.
Walsh?
Thomas J. Woe.
And say, yes, the defendant confessed, and it's true. She confessed to every single element that you will see.
Kind of feels like buying a fake play button off of Etsy, though. Like, he didn't earn this gold lettering. He, like, went there, and, like, there was some 18-year-old who's like, yeah, I'm pretty good with the router.
I could do a cricket.
But we didn't just stop there, right? We could have been done with this case on Monday. Played her interview and called it a day.
But I feel like you, the members of the jury, deserve to hear what A.J. Gannon had to say. And for that, I hope you side with me and don't hold that against me. Because he was not annoying. I don't care what you say, jury. That was fucking worth your time and the $17 you earned that day.
I'm pretty sure this DA does say, "Aw shucks, I'm such a silly goose." I could totally see him say that.
Turn me loose, you silly goose. Allison. Oh, shucks.
But you should expect more, right? We have the burden of proof. And
we got that whole burden of proof. I don't have to prove why she did it. Like the whole why thing, it's like, who gives a shit?
The law that was just read to you. But I'm a visual learner, so I like to see kind of what we're looking at.
So I have a PowerPoint.
So as I go through these three offenses, there's really, as
it's just as good as the PowerPoint from fucking
Joel Guy Jr.
Yeah,
that was testified to.
Great.
Not what time somebody got to Scott Holmes' house at the end of the night.
Yeah, because literally, who cares about where the fucking apartment is, who Kevin Eastman is, what time he showed up, why AJ was their friend, what they had for lunch most days in middle school.
He said his name, and now I lost it again.
His name is Maurice Wolin.
Scott something.
His name is His Shoe Never Left, the foot.
The fucking didn't.
Or what the state needs to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay? So first, count one. First degree intentional homicide.
What do you think about that?
First, that the defendant caused the death of Shad, and that she, second, acted with intent to kill him.
And confessed that she did.
And again, as I already mentioned, as we go through these elements...
Sometimes they do that, though. Like, speaking of holding the pail, like they would dump the boyfriend in. There's a case out there. I can't remember. I just watched it. But, like, they hold up, like, the dude's... Oh, yeah, no, it was the Daryl Brooks case where they hold up the hoodie he was wearing. But it's in, like, one of those
in the big bags.
Huge, crinkly bags.
Yeah.
Like it's a fucking movie theater snack.
You can see this.
Like, look, it's a hoodie.
You can touch it. Just don't take it out of the bag.
Request a copy of this. I dare you, jury. I'm the prosecutor for Daryl Brooks.
You heard earlier this morning that the defendant is acknowledging every element that we hear.
Okay?
Debatable.
Independent of the information you heard today.
Debatable.
With the investigation you heard, the DNA, the other information, Dr. Tranquita's testimony.
Allegedly.
Would prove all these elements as well. But you have on top of that the defendant's admissions to all these elements.
Hello, there's 7 hours.
The defendant caused the death of Shad. I mean, that should be fairly clear here. Obviously, she admits that.
Obviously, you can see I made it bold, so you are really like, hello.
Important.
First, you read it. Now read it again because it's bold.
That shows
you heard Dr.
importance.
Tranquita's testimony of how Shad died, the cause and the manner of death, strangulation, excessive force being placed on the neck.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to get to my convertible because we're going to do karaoke with prosecuting attorneys. I'm James Corden's body double.
That was the sole cause of death that we heard. So let's talk about intent, right? Because admittedly, sometimes it's a
Did she
tricky
intend to
topic,
kill him?
right? We can never know anyone's intent truly, and as you're told, you're not going into the mind of somebody, right?
And P.S. Like Shad Therian is a Skyrim character. Stop it. Stop it.
Looking at all the facts and circumstances that you see. In this case, you have the benefit of the defendant opening up her mind to you and telling you what her intent was here. But you also have other signs,
This
right?
bitch is like, you know that.
She was there every fucking
That somebody
day
had the
behind
mental
Mr.
purpose to do
Freilich.
something, right? Some volition.
She wanted to smell
That
his
they're
Old
aware
Spice.
that what they're doing is practically certain to cause that result, right? And you heard both, really.
Open your mind.
So I want to walk.
Open your mind to me. Was that, Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, but was that a Lawnmower Man quote? Fucking great movie. Jeff Fahey and Pierce Brosnan. Are you kidding?
Through that because
almost as good as the 1994 classic Alec Baldwin movie, The Shadow.
there's a lot of points in that interview where the defendant is telling you exactly what her intent was in this case.
Yeah.
Right? His face was turning purple, right? She describes that, and he was coughing up blood, and you know that's accurate, right? Because you heard Dr. Tranquita's testimony, and you saw those photographs. She's seeing that in person, and yet what does she say? I still didn't stop. No, she felt a heartbeat at one point, right? She talks about feeling his heartbeat, and she kept pulling more, and he wouldn't die. And I just wanted him, and I was like, damn, right? She admits even that Shad's struggling in this moment, that he's fighting back, right? You heard from Dr. Tranquita as well about how it looked like at one point there were signs of that, where the collar slipped up along the tongue. She's telling you, I was waiting for him to die. I liked it. She figured I'm already this far, and she's pantomiming the
Mr. Freilich is
act.
currently
It's like
writing
she's
out
starting
his
a
closing
lawnmower.
argument.
Say something about
The DNA not being on the dildo. That's going to come up in his. The doctor, the DNA, one of the forensic whatever specialists, it was like, yeah, there was no DNA on the dildo, so I can't say.
Case closed.
I can't say that it was used on him, basically.
Here's the thing that we know. Sure. Said it was in a bucket. Body was spread all around his house. She said she did it. But did you ever stop to think about how there wasn't any DNA on that dildo?
It was in a box.
You have the power to nullify anything you see fit.
His face descripts, oh, that's a good line. Oh, yeah, I'm going to save that.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I got to remember that for later.
Right. That's how hard she's pulling on this chain, right? Took 3 to 5 minutes, she thinks. And again,
that's not bullshit. Like, to strangle a person to death takes 3 to 5 minutes. So the fact that she's able to recall like an accurate time frame means one of two things. She looked it up, and everybody knows how long it takes to strangle a human being if you're in the true crime community, and it doesn't seem like Shabusiness would be unfamiliar.
Considering all the shit that she used to look up on Dahmer and all the
right,
things.
and so she's probably into that, but also I wouldn't put it past her. Like, as she's like tightening that collar around Shad, she like looks over to the Timex hanging on the wall and is like, start the clock.
Yeah. I don't even know if she was necessarily high at this point either.
I guarantee she probably was.
Right?
I guarantee she
probably was. It may have been
This isn't
doing it.
whoops.
There's a 100% chance she might have been high.
Oh my God. Why do you keep doing that?
I don't know.
Did you see?
Probably because my keyboard isn't working, so I'm having to go with the mouse.
We heard from Mr. Scott, didn't we? We heard from Mr. Scott
I'm also
about
making
DNA
excuses.
testing that was done, right? And for some of the
Classic. Boxing the Moonlight is the album.
Making excuses.
Mr.
Heavenly.
Mr. Heavenly. Check it out, guys. Making excuses.
Okay, wait, slow down. Let's not act like we all haven't spent a guilty verdict influencing amount of time. Look up Dahmer facts.
Yeah, in this context, yes. Probably if you're watching this, you have looked up Dahmer facts.
I've never looked up Dahmer facts.
Or whoever. It doesn't matter. Your murder du jour. Your Ed Kemper, for instance. I know an ungodly amount of facts about Ed Gein and all the other, mega famous murderers, all the way down to like your lesser known people we've covered on this channel.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. We're coming around, and somebody on YouTube recently voiced their opinions, and I kind of agree with it, that like, even though true crime is still kind of a taboo subject for everybody except like Weird Housewives, it is sort of reaching like popular culture levels, because I don't know, it just feels like before YouTube, you'd have to like buy a book or like catch a documentary on like Nat Geo or the Discovery Channel or whatever. And now it's never been easier, especially with like lax laws or, over permissive laws in places like Florida. You can be there from soup to nuts, from start to finish.
Right.
And so, I mean, it kind of sucks that you still have to go like, yeah, I like true crime under your breath a little bit. But, I mean, we're making strides. It still does feel weird where you're like, are you familiar with and you drop the name of a murderer or a criminal of some kind to anybody in like the general public, and they go, who? And you go, I made a mistake.
Is on that dildo in Shad's house. Shad's DNA wasn't found on there, and nothing excludes that possibility. And again, everything the defendant's telling you is consistent with other things you're seeing. So there's no reason to believe, a reasonable hypothesis to believe, that she's not also telling you what's happened in this case too, right, for this count. And the second element...
I want you guys to know, if I'm ever found dead and there's a dildo near my body without my DNA, I'm probably still murdered, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm dead.
You're not consenting. That, as you're instructed,
dildo in
it's kind of
Shad's
inferred
house.
by the fact that at the time that the defendant's telling you she's engaging in these acts, that Shad's...
The Shadtharians with dildo in my house. That's like, that would be right alongside like any Bread or like the Grassroots album. Like that's a 60s thing, right? The Shadtharians, dildo in my house. Maybe I'll write that album.
That's deceased, right? So he's not in a position to consent. Okay. So those are the two elements for count 3. So in total, 6 elements for the 3 offenses. And
it's okay. So here's the thing that's wild to me. And I get why everybody's so squeamish about it, but like the crimes that you can perpetrate on someone after they die have just as much weight as before you killed them. So like all the stuff that she did after she killed him is like horrifying, but if she did it while he was alive before he choked to death, you go, okay, that's probably fine.
Yeah, she like played with his shit, cut his wiener off, and
yeah,
was,
she
like,
was doing all kinds of crazy shit,
doing some things.
And like, okay, so here's the thing: we're probably far enough in that like, if you're not interested, you're not watching anymore. But she talks about like putting her mouth on his joint after he was dead, and him still getting semi-hard.
Yeah,
and I go.
That's part of that sexual assault thing.
Well, but it's one thing where you go like, huh, I didn't know that could happen. But you would only know that could happen because Taylor Shabusiness gave it a shot. And so you go, it's disgusting, but really?
I would believe that would happen.
No, totally. It happened in Clerks.
Yeah.
And again, you're given a lot of law on how to assess credibility of witnesses, and that's good, and you should follow it. Really, you kind of just use your common sense as jurors.
Kinda.
Again, the defendant's telling you what happened, and there's nothing in the case to disbelieve what she's saying.
Yeah, I mean, if a woman tells you for 7 hours that she killed a man and then she butchered him and left his body parts all over the house, like, use your common sense. Yeah, read the facts.
She didn't have time to take the head with the bucket or the bucket with the head in it out because she heard somebody walking around. She wanted to get out of the house.
This is brought in like one of those lady spiders that eat the other spiders while they're doing their shit business.
Yeah. Or like, doesn't the female praying mantis kill the male after they mate or whatever?
The Black Widow.
So
many
you have the
things.
defendant's admissions, as I mentioned earlier. There's other evidence that kind
P.S. We wasted a week of your life, despite the fact we could have just played you an hour and a half of footage.
Right, we heard from Kevin Scott.
Kevin Smith.
Or testified about the DNA testing he did.
Kevin Johnson from the Legacy Sons.
Shad's blood on the defendant's hands, on her clothing, on the sweatpants.
Literally everything else she ever said.
Shad's blood on them. Right.
Her interrogation or interview or whatever was put in 2 parts because she had cuts all over her hands, so she had to go to the hospital to get those taken care of, and then they went and did the rest of her thing.
It's so wild. Like, I don't know. Every time I go, I've seen so much interrogation footage. I've seen it all. Every time I stumble upon something else, I go, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
And like, Shabusiness is one of those where she doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it's cliche, but it just seems like overabundance of honesty is almost 100% tied to the concept of like pleading insanity. Like if you're just upfront and honest and like not apologetic and also not remorseful and you just sort of treat it aloofly, like that's the golden ticket that'll get you into the chocolate factory that is your freedom after a murder. And not really. Like it never fucking works. You have to be literally insane, and then again, your life is not good for the rest of it.
Mm-mm.
So again, if you like successfully like play the insanity card, you go, woohoo, I don't have to go to jail. I have to go to an asylum. And those places are awesome. And they're so easy to get out of. Like, right? Once people think you're crazy, you can change their mind like that.
Evidence here to convict on all 3 counts. You have many witnesses coming in to talk about the integrity of the investigation, how law enforcement didn't just take the confession and go home.
It is kind of funny that we have 3 counts when probably she could have been read 75.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and here's the thing. If you're a Shabusiness or a Daryl Brooks, do you want a low count or do you want the high count? What would carry more weight where you're going? Like with Shabusiness, she's got 3 counts. They go, well, I get charged for 3 counts. But Daryl Brooks has 76. Does that mean anything?
I wonder if it's different with like a women's prison, because like the 3 counts is okay. What are your 3 counts? And then you're like, well, I completely dismembered my boyfriend, and also did some essay
But she's going to a ladies' prison, and I don't know that culture very well. But yeah, Thomas is right. He's blame minority, just like Ben Stiller did when he blamed the Asians. I'm pretty sure they were Asian. It's a juicy 3 count for sure.
Right? We do more, right? Send things in for DNA. We speak with other witnesses. We corroborate.
Your 3 ingredients are ground beef, cheese, and bacon. Sure, it is juicy.
And that's really important, right? We have the burden of proof. And we talked about that. And
we did it. You guys got it.
You should hold us to that standard as the state to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's why we call people from Madison to come up to talk for 5 minutes about.
And that's why we had AJ up here for 45 minutes, get confused about where apartments are, what apartments are.
Reasonable doubt.
Where he is, what's reasonable doubt, what middle school is, and what French bread pizza is. But that was for your benefit, jury. You needed to know the facts. Shad's dead, and French bread pizza is sold at middle schools.
And I returned that piece of evidence, and it was fine. Right, because it's important. We want to show that law enforcement did a thorough investigation in this case. And they did. Because we have the burden of proof. You're instructed on what the burden of proof is and what it's not, right? It's a reasonable doubt, a reasonable hypothesis consistent with consistent with.
Don't you dare search for doubt. What you're supposed to do is search for truth, jury. Truth, justice, and the American way.
In a sense,
doubt.
You should find the defendant not guilty. You're not searching for doubt. You're ultimately searching for the truth.
Would it be double reasonable to assume that she's a murderer? reasonable doubt, reasonable hypothesis. Don't search for doubt. But if you find one
Even
that's
if it's
reasonable,
heavy
I'll
burden,
listen.
Doesn't mean the decision is difficult in cases.
Nope.
You are instructed not to search for doubt, you're to search for the truth. And there's not a reasonable hypothesis in this case consistent with the defendant's innocence. There just isn't.
Pretty much no.
There's one truth in this case. There's one side of the story. And it happens to be the defendant's story as well, but it's consistent with everyone else's story.
And by that, I actually mean the truth is the good word. The Chronicle of Jesus Christ.
It's because that story is the truth of what the defendant did to her friend Shad. Based on
They
that,
were just
we
friends.
ask that you return guilty verdicts on all 3 counts. Thank you.
Good night! And then sparklers and fireworks and
as
shit.
the attorney for the defendant, Taylor Denise Shabusiness, I'd like to share with you that I believe this case is a puzzling, unclear, confusing, and bizarre set of facts.
And it wouldn't have been if you hadn't invited AJ.
He didn't invite AJ.
I'm just saying, in general, it wouldn't have been had nobody invited AJ, nobody invited the dad,
Arturo.
People asked relevant questions to the crime, and that's it. It's like, it was as if you had the recipe for a cake, right? Like you have the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook from 1965, and you open it up, and there's a recipe for a vanilla sheet cake. And then someone comes along and dumps a big squirty shit on it. Yeah, now it's fucked. But under the shit is the unassailable facts that have been printed in that book since 1965. Just because you, Mr. What's his name?
Freilich.
Mr. Freilich, come and like throw a bunch of garbage onto a pile of unassailable facts. I mean, yeah, just because the sundae's got a bunch of crazy toppings doesn't mean you don't understand there's ice cream at the bottom of it. Fix your comb over.
Thomas says, we touched on this with Daryl, but I love the absolute back-breaking agony these guys have to go through to convince some lunch pal, Dan, and Plumber Joe's that the lady in a manic trance over there hurt a guy.
Seriously. And that's the thing. It's like, it's always one of two ways juries are portrayed in popular culture. They're either like so smart that like it's a layup, or like they're worried that the general consensus and intelligence level is so low that they would have a better time trying to impress upon a group of potatoes what justice even is. You know, but that's the thing. You're dealing with the general public, and they're weird.
What really happened between February 22nd of 2022.
Right, seriously, like, Your Honor, I mean, hello, I would like, closing arguments are fine and all, but I've got a golf game at like 2:30 and it's 1:45, so can we, you know, hot and ready at Little Caesars is always ready, but the sooner the better. Come on.
They took the jury took like 43 minutes or something.
Yeah, which probably takes like 15 minutes travel time back and to, so
And
half
to get
an
the
hour of that,
instructions and the papers and all the shit.
Open up that little 6-ounce bottle of water and quench your thirst for 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, go pee.
Law enforcement officers testified. We had detectives. We had police officers. We had
Oh, I forgot to move my microphone.
PETA and DNA experts, forensic specialists, lots of different people, some citizen witnesses.
Right.
I'd ask that you...
They all just walked in the room. They're like, she's guilty, right? All right, let's go.
Hello.
and decide this case based on the facts that have been presented. You've sat here for the last 3 days. You've been here in court. I know that you've listened very
Really quick, not for nothing, but you can see how close my face is to this microphone at all times, right? Now, what we're looking at here is roughly 24 solid inches. That's 2 feet from this man's face to the microphone. The fact that it's picking up anything at all is amazing. I'm going to reiterate and espouse my idea that, like, if you're going to be, at the very least, if you're wearing a suit, put a lav mic on that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't want to mic the defendant, but everybody in a suit, all the lawyers, everyone who isn't going to be a wild card and try to throw a crazy elbow into your lawyer's face should have a lav mic. Because, again, who knows what sort of audio wizardry is going on to correct this, or how many microphones are just hanging out in the room because God knows that nobody's got any fucking mic technique.
Yeah, he gets reminded during his closing arguments. But, like, he was always reminded, and the judge had to remind himself to move the microphone. The state always had it right where it's supposed to be.
It's not hard. It's not even like you're wandering around, right? Like, this guy can stand at the podium, like the James Corden dude from the prosecution. He can stand at the, but like, these are decent mics. We're hearing it. It's just, I'm sorry. It's a personal pet peeve when people get around microphones and just treat them as if they don't exist. Like, I don't want to get in your face about shit, but if you show up my studio and I go, hey, just remember to point this at this all the time, and you go, what? I'm going to get annoyed. I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to complain about it days, maybe months later on a show just like this.
I may be a simple Green Bay lawyer, and I may not know how far or close to stand to a mic, but God damn it, my client is not a communist.
Got 12 secret herbs and spices of the judicial system in this case.
Is that law enforcement officers on February 23rd of 2022
just pull the mic to your face.
this small Cape Cod home and made contact with the occupant.
You bring up a good point, Thomas, because I want to know if the cameramen in the courtroom are going off of their instinct, or if there is a mastermind per courtroom feeding information to the people. It doesn't feel that way. It just sort of feels like, oh, I should zoom in on this. Because most of the time when you see movement, it feels...
No, this is like...
disconnected.
The Law and Crime Channel, this is their specific person and camera doing this. They have 3. So when there was,
but so they're not getting any feedback in real time. So that's the thing. Like, videography, photography, any of that where you're capturing an image is a highly intuitive sort of thing. And so most of the time it does feel like the zooms and the pans or the wiggles or whatever we see is like totally unintentional, but sometimes people nail it. There's some courtroom footage out there where you go, this person belongs like on a Spielberg production. This person is like, what's his name? The B-movie king. Corman?
Roger
Corman? There you go. He should be working on a Roger Corman or like a Fred Olin Mills thing. Not this time, baby.
Tara Pakinich.
Roger Corman, thank you.
Hendricks. And Ava Wheelock was woken up, but they were all sitting at the kitchen table, and officers came in to see what was going on. There was a concern, obviously, that there was a
murder
down at the end of the stairs. And we heard from Detective Roth that this was an ongoing investigation. Law enforcement, they were trying to piece this together. It was an unusual situation, so they were trying to find out what happened.
Now, as long as you don't look at the fact that they found out exactly what happened, it's up in the air, people. Yeah. They were trying to find out, and that's all we know at this point. Do you?
Good expression, champ.
Oh my God, this guy.
Unfortunately, I believe it was Officer Plonky and Officer Wanish. They testified. They came here and indicated that they went down to check out what was in the basement, and there was a
bucket had been it.
In that black Fleet Farm bucket. And the investigation continued on. But what I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that there really are no eyewitnesses as to what really happened down in the basement.
This is the Joel Guy Jr. defense. All we know is son goes to see his parents on Thanksgiving. Son goes back to Baton Rouge after. They never got a handwriting expert to check out the murder journal. Shut up! Are you... No one knows what happened in that basement.
There was
Take
no
a guess.
Taylor Shabusiness there. No other people there. And so that'll be something that you'll have to consider and think about. Then
What am I considering again?
Law enforcement
That we don't know what happened.
secondary
Bullshit.
scene, and that was at 2353 Eastman Avenue, apartment 1 in that parking lot. And you saw the video. The officers.
Take it easy, Thomas. Clearwater. God, I love that name. Names like Clearwater, Liar's Corner.
The officers walked up and they parked a distance away, and they walked up in the snow and they saw a line of cars in front of the apartment complex. And they saw that, a minivan. It was a gold Town and Country Chrysler minivan. And that beautiful car. He's got the third seat, fit up to 7. If you got a large family, the Town and Country is where it's at. Or if you're going to commit a murder. Whoops! I mean, vehicle of concern
had the crock pot box in it.
Shield. There are vehicles on either side. And the officers walked up and they they saw some lights on the van.
this judge looks like how I feel. Like, how did this make it into your closing arguments? This is bullshit you put into a first draft, like, to remind yourself of something, but then you'd cut out in subsequent drafts. You wouldn't be like, well, people walked up, cars, there's a gold minivan, people were walking, there was snow. This is your closing argument in a murder case?
Yeah, he was terrible.
Falling, police. It's almost like free-form poetry.
I saw someone come out the front door, and it was my client. It was Taylor Shabusiness. At that point, she was arrested by Officer Russell, and another officer then realized there was a male inside of the apartment number 1 down the hall.
Oh, yeah, they fucking had him on his hands and, like, face flat on the ground, and he didn't even do anything.
Held at gunpoint, and then he was arrested. And so 2 people were...
Speaking of not doing anything, I just listened to the interrogation of James Reyes, who was the person who housed Sherry Papini.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I remember you telling me you were watching it.
If you were to... You know, in the dictionary, there'll be like 4 definitions for something. Mm-hmm. If you looked up cuck, right under the sexual deviant definition would be like James Reyes. Like, didn't get any sex out of the situation, stood to lose everything and gain nothing, but still refused to just come clean about helping Sherry, despite the fact that FBI and the police showed up at his house. Mm. Like, they were like, hey, man, we know what went on. We want to know what's the truth. You're not in trouble. Please help. And he goes, nothing. And they go, no, you don't get it, dude. You're not in trouble. And it is a federal offense to lie to a law enforcement agent. Please help us. And he goes, nah, I got nothing, brah. Like,
jeez.
Didn't even nail Sherry.
Wow.
But they did find seminal fluid on her clothes. So I'm like, what? Whatever. James Reyes, cuck, second definition.
Taken from the apartment building and taken down to the police station. There was a search of the Eastman Avenue apartment.
Great. Bring that up again.
We don't have any
closing arguments.
Body parts there.
What's up with that?
There really wasn't anything of evidentiary value there.
That's where Taylor lives.
If you don't have a smoking gun or dismembered appendages, you must acquit. It's like the classic OJ. Where's the glove? Where's the glove that Shabusiness wore?
That was that.
No, that
Later
was that.
on, officers and detectives realized that minivan was something that they were concerned about, so that was taken down to the police storage garage. And then we found out that from Dr.
Think about that statement for a second. The detectives and the officers realized it was something they should be concerned about.
Yeah, they saw blood around the van.
Right, but that's the thing. It's like, that's the beauty of spin. Like, one of my favorite bands, the Spin Doctors. You can take something and with just a slight shift in context or perspective, make it anything you want. It's why scientific studies say that coffee will give you rectal cancer or make you live to be 150, looking at the exact same data. If you go, well, if the hard facts are unassailable and stripped of all pretense and nuance, are that like a man was blasted apart by a set of Farberware steak knives, like the softball answer to that would be like, yeah, a terrible thing happened that night.
Yeah.
But like, does it really, like, the attempt was in a bucket.
And some of the other forensic specialists, Andre, I believe it was investigator Andre, and Zarnecki. And so they donned Tyvek gear, protective PPE equipment, and they methodically...
Real quick, you don't say ATM machine, because M in ATM is machine. PPE, personal protective equipment. You don't say PPE equipment.
Right.
I expect you to know that. You're a lawyer, not a blue-collar worker. I am a blue-collar worker. Please stop saying shit like that. The ATM automatic teller machine, you mean?
Investigated the back of the minivan, and they found the crock pot box that was in a laundry basket sitting on a seat, and there were human remains in there.
No, they had a little bit of concern over the gold minivan full of human remains.
Driving this minivan.
P.S. I don't think if you bought a Town and Country any time they were produced, you bought it in the color silver or the color gold.
Analyze it. As jurors, you have to...
There's one guy out there who owns like a ruby red one.
By the law that the judge gives you. It's a daunting task.
How will you figure it out, jury? You, poor people of the common community, asked to...
Getting $18 a day for this.
$18 a day, and boy, you're worth every penny. How were you to come to the decision that Taylor is a murderer? I mean, the waters are so murky, it's like we're classic catfish in a Louisiana bayou waiting for a white trash finger to come along and pull us out. Jesus, guys, come on.
So then we hear... You saw the video.
We hear that you saw the video.
Detective Groff and my client, Taylor Shabusiness.
This one.
She was taken down to the Green Bay Police Department.
Packers!
Photographs were taken of her. And
lewd photos.
Clothes were taken. And she was put in a yellow suit and then later a blue suit. But she was asked questions.
The indignity. Can you imagine my client, Taylor Shabusiness, subjected to photography, a yellow jumpsuit, and then the cherry on top of this shit Sunday, a blue jumpsuit? I would look upon you and the jury and I would ask you to look into your heart and to find her not guilty. The blue jumpsuit?
Well, it's funny because so after she was found guilty, the next day was the like insanity part, and she came in just in regular clothes, and the judge was like, "So you guys made the decision that she wasn't going to be in prison clothes for this thing?" And he was like, "Yeah, she didn't want to wear the prison clothes," and he's like, "I'm sure the guards probably would have preferred that she was in her prison
but like
outfit."
whatever, like who." nothing was ever going to work. Like, this is a Daryl Brooks. This is a Sarah Boone. It wasn't ever going to be anything but guilty and a buttload of years at the end. But we still have to, like, you know, this guy gets to put on his suit and tie and pretend to be official, and the prosecuting attorney gets to go like, hey,
win.
You know, this is as if, like, I'm trying to slam dunk a ball into a hoop that's only 2 feet tall. You be the judge, jury. Is she guilty? I'm just James Corden.
And you got to remember what she said.
Right, get that microphone further away.
Questions were being asked. She did say during the interview, I can't think right now. I'm effing nuts.
Effing.
She said that she was up all night, that the body would rebuild itself. She said weird, odd things.
She was on meth.
Consider her credibility. Consider what she says. Consider what she said to Detective Groff or Detective Scanlon.
If she is smoking that wacky tobacco, you must give her innocent tacky.
Nice.
She said stuff, I would submit, that she said things that didn't make sense.
Is this your face right now? Because it feels like my face is this right now, where she's like, this is my lawyer?
She says, I have no idea to some of the questions that the detectives asked her. You remember seeing the video on the screen?
Oh, that's where it was. It was on the screen.
I'd ask that you recall that she had inappropriate laughs, inappropriate smiling, odd
she stuck a dead dude's dick in her mouth.
responses. I would submit that she indicated that she did not have sex. She did not have penis to vagina intercourse with Shabusiness. She indicated that she came to the residence and they went downstairs, and within 5 minutes they got to it, whatever that means.
Whatever that means. But what we know it doesn't mean is penis to vagina sex. The worst kind.
She talked about, during the interview with Detective Groff, rebuilding muscle or rebuilding into muscle. Sometimes she wasn't responsive.
She talked about harnessing the power of electricity to reanimate Shabusiness on a metal slab with an assistant named Igor or Hans, I forget, depending on the kid.
She talked about hearing gunshots.
She's like, what?
I don't remember
Detective
that.
Groff said that there were no gunshots in the
Real
air.
quick, look at this. A 2-ring binder.
Yeah.
2-hole punch. 1-hole punch. Not for nothing.
Of Stony Brook, Eastman Avenue, was some other place. She said she was paranoid. She said weird things like, I don't like open spaces. I don't like...
I feel more and more uncomfortable as more time passes and our faces are exactly the same. I'm not liking this.
Open spaces. No clothes
That's not
came
a
off.
toupee.
You know what she didn't? Oh, obviously not. You know what she didn't like? The Dixie Chicks and their song, Wide Open Spaces. Case closed.
No kissing.
No kissing on the mouth.
She said
right.
that she allegedly put the dildo into Mr. Therian's backside, his butt area.
Why are you miming this? She said allegedly she put the dildo into his backside butt area. I'm the defense attorney, and she put... Do you get a jury? It was like this. It was in and out of his butt area. His butt area.
Take your wand out of your pocket, put it back in your pocket.
Put it back into your pocket.
There's
Patronus
no DNA.
anusonus. Boop. Butt magic. Anyway, check my notes. More butt stuff about Shabusiness
No
in here.
DNA on the dildo.
No DNA in the dildo, but she's like, in the butt. It was in his butt area.
In and out.
In and
Evan
out.
Scott, DNA expert.
Put the wad into your
Must have done
pocket,
well
put
in
it back
school.
into your pocket.
And chemistry and all that. But the swab from the
Hell
dildo,
yeah.
item J1, it says the possible contribution of DNA from Shabusiness is inconclusive due to the complexity of the mixture. I would argue that his DNA is not on the dildo.
What an argument.
Good argument.
I would argue,
Right.
now we can break out the sherry and water biscuits now that we've put the...
Probably couldn't get it into his butt area.
He was gonzo.
I know.
I guarantee she'd get in his butt area.
That even though the state is charging out third-degree sexual assault, there is no shred of evidence to support that particular charge. And I'd ask that you take that into account.
As long as you don't listen to the words that came out of my client's mouth.
Right.
There is zero evidence to prove that she did all the things that she said she did.
Right. Don't take anything
as long as you don't listen to what she said. Does that make sense, Jerry? Reasonable doubt's a funny thing, right? Like, she never did it, but she may have not said it.
No evidence at the Eastman Avenue apartment.
Shut. He's like, shut the hell up.
God damn it. Where's my submarine sandwich?
Detective Groff had my
So
client
hungry.
come down to the Green Bay Police Department with Detective Kevin
Packers.
Kempf. They were talking with her for a while. The interview was maybe 3 hours or so. And then they took a break because Ms. Shabusiness had cuts.
Quickly, let me check my notes. Diarrhea. She had meth diarrhea.
On her thumb, scratches on her palms, other cuts on her fingers.
I would argue that these wounds were not from murdering someone, but from something else. What? I don't know. I don't have to prove that.
Nope.
It's the state's burden of proof. He said it.
Some of them were deep. You saw the pictures because I believe they were
We're
published.
rolling in the deep.
And she was taken over to St. Vincent's Hospital for medical evaluation.
No treatment, though. They just evaluated.
I would submit that the blood on her hands may have been her own because of the deep cuts that she had suffered or that she had.
They said it was his, though, too, I think. So, there's that. How could it not be? She
Right, but
fucking...
here's the thing. Like, if you're Lizzie Borden and you actually cut your thumb on the axe, and they go, hey, well, sure, head to toe, she was covered in blood and she burned that dress in her backyard later, but we don't know that it wasn't her blood. She might have been on that lady's time, if you know what I mean, and it was just a horrible coincidence. She happened to be holding an axe when her period hit full force.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy flow days in the 1800s were like that molasses explosion that killed a whole town. Women's periods back in the day could kill a man and a woman.
It's true.
Maybe both.
Probably both.
The defense had subpoenaed Mr. Scott Tomes. He was unavailable.
Oh, Scott
and
Tomes.
He gave an account of that night.
That's the
Dang.
minivan owner.
Really
And
missed
he had
out on that
indicated,
guy.
At least on Monday night.
Yeah, what I really want is like 45 to 50 minutes of like a really intense interview of a gold town and country owner. That's what this case needs.
February 21st.
And her roommate.
Taylor Shabusiness and her friend Shad came over.
So you bought the town and country over the Dodge Caravan, despite the fact they are the exact same model. Why is that, Scott? Town and country. Classic.
Probably his mom's.
He
didn't buy that Plymouth
seen
bullshit.
Shad before, but didn't know his name. Then he thought that they hooked up to do meth. And then he talked about his vehicle. And he talked about that Taylor Shabusiness had used his vehicle in the past. Then didn't get permission on that particular night. Then he indicated that he was drinking.
God, I hope he brings up the apartment
He
again.
indicated that Taylor Shabusiness returned to his house around midnight with his vehicle, went to her bedroom,
House
and he
is
had a
the
suspicion
apartment.
that she may have been high on drugs. And then he had indicated that Taylor had the bedroom and that he would sleep in his chair. So that's, something else that you have to think about.
Strange.
Bedroom versus chair. Was there a murder? Can you sleep in different rooms and still kill someone?
Strange roommate situation too, like living in an apartment where the one guy just sleeps in a chair and then the other girl.
Even without drugs, living situations can get strange because, people hit hard times and things are offered and people can crash on couches or chairs. It's not that big of a deal. It's just more often than not when it just feels like a flop house where it's like there's no real come stay with me. It's like you come over and we share some meth and you never leave.
Right.
It's just everybody's living off of Totino's pizza rolls and blue sugar rock.
I don't think he did meth. The guy that owned the apartment.
Lieutenant Buckman.
I mean, he's a town and country owner. He doesn't do meth.
A veteran on the Green Bay Police Department. And that he was doing some investigating and he wasn't sure if Taylor Shabusiness was a suspect or a victim because it was an ongoing new investigation.
But when they showed up, she went outside and was like, oh, hey.
Was she the perpetrator of a murder or was she the victim of someone who had to commit a murder? Right? No one ever thinks about that. Don't you think that maybe Shad was the bad guy and he forced her to kill him and she's the victim because he was
dead? I'm
the victim of a corpse, Your Honor. Case
so that's
closed.
You have to take into account as well. The state brought up.
He's the worst closing arguments person.
I was just about to say, I don't want to nitpick here, but here's the thing: a goalie, in a soccer game or a hockey game, they're there to defend that goal from the attacks. And the way that this is set up is more like a Pokemon battle as opposed to a real life thing. Whereas each player gets their turn. The prosecution Pokemon does his thing, and then the defense Pokemon gets to come up and do his thing. But this feels like a Venusaur came out and hit this motherfucker with solar flare, and this is a sand shrew who keeps using growl. And he's just the burnt out matchstick husk of a human being and still going "Arr!" And sure, Venusaur's defense may fall a little, but you have been obliterated, my friend. Do something about your hair, for God's sake.
Is it always a thing where in opening arguments the defense goes first and then closing arguments the state goes first?
Basically.
Okay. I didn't know because that's what they did here, so I wasn't sure.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You have to. The defense always comes after the prosecution's closing arguments because you have to
defend your
right. You are trying to levy back the cannonballs of the defense, and hopefully, you're trying to be Captain Barbossa, firing back at the old Spanish losers in their castle and be like, aha. But if you come to a cannonball fight with a tennis racket and you go, I'll just return some serves, your arms are going to get fucking blasted off. And that's what we're watching. This poor potato-like man who's lost both of his arms and one of his legs in a vain attempt to try and repel an attack that is way beyond his depth and breadth.
Mm-hmm.
All kids, young people, they like their phones and they look up things on the internet for a variety of different reasons: shock value, curiosity.
Advice on how to deal with a murder.
I have a situation here where Taylor did do some searches about Jeffrey Dahmer. I would submit that.
Here's the thing, though. I'm sure, I personally don't do internet searches for serial killers. I just sort of find it tangentially through social and proper or legacy media. Now, there are there's probably a lot of reasons why you would be searching for this sort of stuff, whether you're doing a report or you've got a YouTube channel where you're doing true crime, whatever, and all that can come out in the wash and go oh yeah, it makes total sense. But that's the thing. Context is important. The reason you can see me is because I stand out from the background. But if the background wasn't here and I just existed in a white void, it would be crazy.
Yes.
And that's part of it. You can't go like, well, the context is not important. Shabusiness is a thing that exists and some stuff happened. It doesn't matter because context isn't a thing. And a guy ended up dying and there was an apartment and that's the general thesis of this guy's closing arguments. Instead of defending point by point, what you should be doing is taking notes on what the prosecution said and be like, okay, here's a counter for that, here's a counter for that, and here's a counter for that. This is like when an interrogation happens and the detective will ask a very straightforward question and it demands an answer. When the answer comes, it has nothing to do with the question and it has something to do with, normalizing or deflecting. And that's a bad sign. If you're not able to at least even address them, if not make a counter argument, but at least address them, you're not even in the same ballpark. Like you're playing T-ball against like Mark McGwire. Like he's hitting a 98-mile-an-hour fastball out of the country, and you're taking a generous 2 or 3 whacks at a ball that is stationary on a tee. And we're going, but he gave his best effort, and it doesn't matter. Like he's not even trying.
Yeah.
I don't like to use the word pathetic because this guy's a professional, but it's pathetic.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean anything. That people search the internet for all kinds of things on the internet, and that it's for shock value. So that shouldn't really play any part in this case.
But if I were searching like butt plugs and you go, it has no bearing on my real life, but then you go into my house and I've got a dresser drawer full of butt plugs, I feel like there might be something tying that together.
Yeah,
I would argue that I would argue that it's not a clear case here.
Oh, just so you know, Gavin must be lurking because he posted on our Facebook, nice paleontology analogy. That might be a first in online legal commentary.
You're welcome, Gavin. Paleontologists deserve everything they get, and paleobotanists, I understand they exist, and I'm happy that they do.
And that's it.
You know what I mean? A fern's a fern.
Was there intent to kill Shabusiness?
Yes.
Did Taylor Shabusiness have the mental purpose to kill Shabusiness?
Yes.
Different theories, different things for you to think about. You are all like...
Is President Bush a reptilian? And will the Barack Obama legacy turn out to be a machination of the Freemasons? That's not for me to say. But Shabusiness. Something? Was I saying? Is this closing arguments? Hello?
What day is this?
I got an appointment. I'll catch you later, Judge.
You have to assess and decipher the facts. The facts here are very complicated, confusing.
Are they?
Unclear.
The bullet points of the closing arguments of the prosecution were reasonable and common sense.
Yes.
And this guy's idea is like, okay, so maybe I was wrong. Maybe he did try to formulate a counter argument, but he's like, okay, I'm scared and confused. Specific points are hard, but generalized bullet points may work. Did it?
No. Did
Shabusiness get off scot-free? I don't remember. She cool?
2 different locations. No eyewitnesses. Taylor Shabusiness, we learned that she went to school.
Oh, yeah.
Shabusiness.
You believe that? She went to school. Middle school.
Or high school. They were friends.
French bread pizza.
You heard from AJ Gannon. He hung out with them.
Sure did.
God damn, I love AJ Gannon. He's my favorite character ever.
What someone says when they're hopped up on meth, on drugs?
hopped up on meth, chopping it up with their friends, possibly in an apartment, maybe a day or a week later. It's up
The
to you,
state
jury.
wants you to look into Taylor Shabusiness's mind to find out what her intent was.
No, just look at
It
the
doesn't
video.
matter.
Difficult task.
Here's the thing. This is why the prosecution in like almost every case that goes to court brings that up. They don't have to prove what you were thinking, what you intended, what your hopes or your dreams in the situation were. If they can go, here's the thing, we've got evidence to prove that you physically killed another person, it doesn't matter. Like, were you happy? Were you walking on sunshine?
Whoa.
It doesn't matter. Shad's dead. Shad Therian. The Elder Scrolls Oblivion character has been wiped off of the save file. Doesn't matter what you were thinking or what your intent was. He's gone.
Did she have a clear mind on February 22nd of 2022 as to what was really going on? Accidents can happen.
I accidentally spent 18 hours dismembering a dude with 8 steak knives. Whoops! It's like slipping on a banana for 16 straight hours over 200 miles of highway. Just a real accident. Just whoa!
People can make other choices in a panic. Something for you to think about.
But when it's choice after choice, it's like, what?
This sexual assault charge, you know, how can you
prove that? Aside
you
from her admission and the evidence, whatever,
the
facts.
facts that have been laid out and presented to you, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah. Agree.
How can
Defense.
you have sex when genitals are in one place and bodies in a different place?
Yeah. How can you have sex with genitals are somewhere? I don't know.
Not on the body.
Whatever those genitals are, how can they be having sex?
I forget where they were.
It's impossible to know.
It's foggy. It's cloudy.
Oh, I don't remember where my genitals are.
Hard to
Oh.
imagine. Almost impossible to try to figure out what did or didn't happen. I would submit to you that no sexual assault occurred. I'd ask that you find her not guilty of third-degree sexual assault.
But you would have to be hit in the head very hard with a pipe wrench, have a long history of eating lead paint chips, or live in a house where there's, radon. I hope that's you, jury. 12 jury members, straight and true, with radon leaks in their basement. Please find her not guilty. Jesus Christ, please. I'm trying my best here.
Giving it my all.
Shabusiness.
You can't rely on everything Taylor Shabusiness says. Think about that, please.
Please.
She chose not to testify under our Constitution of the United States of America.
Fifth Amendment. Very
She doesn't
famous.
have to testify. It's what the law provides. You don't have to take the witness stand. You have a right to remain silent.
Probably for the best,
You
too.
can't use that fact alone against her. I would argue that based on all of the evidence and the testimony in this case, that you find my client not guilty of all
Thank
the
you.
charges.
We
Thank
don't
you
have to
very
watch
much
the
for your time.
psychiatrist if you don't want to.
Of the
She's just a fucking nutcase.
educational records for Taylor Shabusiness, did you make any conclusions?
We're running, I don't know, not necessarily super long, but yeah, the psychiatrist, you probably need to see
the whole thing.
The
this
whole
isn't the
thing.
whole thing with the state and the defense. It's just with the defense.
Yeah, sans me. This woman is a complete nut job, and that's the thing about court cases is anyone can be an expert witness, right? Because if you get a degree allegedly from an alleged degree farm or whatever, you can somehow bullshit your way into making people believe that you're not insane. You could end up with a $10,000 check looking like an idiot, but with more money in your pocket.
It's true.
And that's what this lady is. So I'm going to recommend this. Do check out that lady, but also look into Taylor Shabusiness's like raw or like the highlights of her interrogation
Yeah, I
footage.
think the Law and Crime channel that I've been getting these videos from has her interrogation on their page
there's
too.
I'm sure there's a bunch of channels out there. There's whatever. I don't want to throw shade, but a channel I used to be super into, but I'm like, yeah, you actually doing anything? But whatever. Stranger Stories released some Shabusiness, that Shabusiness interrogation. And I think, I don't know. If you're into this sort of thing, it's worth the price of admission, because if you're one of those people who likes to just sort of gawk at the bizarre, semi-candid, and somewhat guileless in presentation, I mean, it's worth it because, but here's the thing. Personally, I like the cat and mouse back and forth of a smart detective and a reasonably intelligent suspect, because the tacit agreement between them both is we both know what we did, but we have to go through this shenanigans of like trying to pull it out. Because any real person who wasn't guilty of a very heinous crime would be like, fuck this, give me a lawyer, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And that's why it's kind of, I'll liken it to this. When you were a kid, you probably went to a Chuck E. Cheese or a Showbiz Pizza or someplace where tickets were paid out, like physical tickets were paid out of a machine in a arcade somewhere. And if you were clever and had the patience and the muscle dexterity, you could sometimes, once the tickets were spit out, slowly tease one or two extra tickets out of the machine before they ripped.
Okay.
I forget why I was telling you.
I don't remember either.
But man, that was a really good analogy. It was so good, I forgot why I was telling it to you. But I guess that's it.
And the only reason that I put these people in this video, like the detectives and the DNA people and all that stuff were fine, but like they weren't as interesting speaking wise as like their dialogue and stuff wasn't as like crazy interesting as Gannon and Arturo and this lady and stuff.
Yeah,
so I didn't want to put these detectives in because all they're doing is saying the facts that we already know.
Right, which is whatever. But like that's the thing, I think it's kind of like a buffet. True crime is a buffet where you can stick to like your veggies, your meats, your noodles, your rices, your other starches or whatever. You can pick whatever you want. To me, the courtroom case and all the witnesses and all the crazy shit that goes on, like in a very professional setting, feels like the rice under the stuff you actually want. To me, like the body cam footage to a lesser extent, but mostly interrogation footage and that sort of stuff is like the meat and the teriyaki sauce. It's the chicken, it's the steak, it's the veggies that sit atop the rice that is necessary to sort of round out the meal, because you can't just have the salacious detective phase. We also have to have that boring rice phase of like, and you've been doing it for how long? And do you know what an apartment is? Sure, maybe we do need it or whatever. It doesn't feel totally necessary most of the time, but that's just where we're at. So that's that. Whatever. Moral of the story is that's Taylor Shabusiness. She's insane. Gone forever. And
Her sentencing, I want to say, is September 26th, unless it gets pushed out for whatever reason or whatever. But I think that's what I recall.
Right, and that's something you have to deal with too with court cases. Is like, if I'm sure there's a lot, if you want to dig into it, like the court cases, there's a lot of stuff to sort of get into with like the minutia.
Yeah.
But it's just like so long and drawn out. Like if I feel like you personally would or do enjoy courtroom settings more than interrogation footage, because it feels like you are more detail oriented and like spreadsheet focused. And like courtrooms are exactly that. It's just a bunch of boring data put in the exact right box so that everything ends up fine at the end of the day. Whereas like interrogations are more art than science.
Yeah.
It's an improv. It's a living thing. It's a flow where two humans are trying to outsmart each other, or anywhere between 2 and 4, depending. But it's up to you. I mean, sometimes it's...
They're both interesting, but yeah, I've never watched a court trial through the whole way, and that's what... Yeah, that's probably it. You're probably right, because I would have gotten bored and like not watched the whole thing if it...
It feels like there are like...
I was invested.
Yeah, there are two sides to everything. Like there are the dudes who love basketball because they like statistics, they like the numbers, they like building their fantasy team. And then there are dudes who like playing basketball. They like putting a ball in their hands and messing around with their friends and getting sweaty.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's basketball. But some people like playing it, and some people like looking at all the facts and the statistics about it.
Mm-hmm. That's why we're such a good pair. Have fun at work, Matt.
Here's the thing. The facts in this is pretty boring. That's why I don't usually do courtroom footage, because I want that live, kinetic, dynamic experience. It just...
Well, I'm glad you allowed me to do it.
Yeah, it's fine, because sometimes you have to look and see like the bureaucracy of it all, but that's when all emotion and humanity are ideally stripped away, so we're down to the facts, even though, you know, it's still a theatrical experience and you're appealing to emotion. It just seems like there's more artifice. Because it's like, how do you do it? It's like watching a play with 1,000 people versus like an intimate artist studio where someone is doing something in front of like 3 people. It's like you're trying to appeal to the broader audience with the broad strokes and trying to get just a bunch of mush heads to be like, oh yeah, bad things are bad. Instead of being nuanced and being like, is there any reason? Or would there be, you know, like, I'm not saying you killed them, but accidents happen or whatever. There's like that interesting interpersonal manipulation.
Yeah.
That we all experience in our day-to-day life, where in the courtroom it's just like, did you do this? And they go, no. And like the attorneys can't go, well, we heard. They just go, oh, but what? Damn it.
Crap.
Right? Because it's now, we're bullshitting ourselves that it's more science than art once it's the courtroom. But whatever. That's it, guys. That's all we got for you. Next week, God knows what'll happen, but tune in hopefully Wednesday where you can play the game and hopefully get your name up here and replace Caleb. Still, the champion 2 weeks running.
The 101 winner.
Classic 101. All right, guys, that's it. That's all we got for you tonight. Thank you for stopping in for this Shabusiness something. It's been a trip. Good night, Tony. Good night, Matt, and everybody who else showed up, or even in the future, if you're watching this, throw something in the comments, like a funny meme or a face. Bye.
Bye.
For the try to
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.